Thank you.
Excellent. We have a full representation of all of our regions, Albert. So I think we're ready to get things kicked off.
Thank you, John. Well, now that we have confirmed quorum, I would like to call this meeting to order. John, can you go ahead and help us with our agenda review?
Very good. We just have one action item, and we're just gonna, that's just the minutes from last time. We don't have any outstanding action items that we need to report out today. Really, today is a big day to sort of report out on our Wave 5 debrief. What took place, we're going to review what took place over the conversion weekend, what's been done to be able to remediate that. And probably most importantly, we're going to be hearing from our counties and how things are going in our Wave 5 counties. We're also going to be doing a retrospective of what took place in Wave 4. Our QA vendor does a formal retrospective process, and Gretchen will come on and she'll be joined by others that have led the retrospective report out on that. And then we're going to go into Wave 6. Believe it or not, we do have 58 counties now in CalSAWS. The Wave 6 counties don't have their cases yet, but we are quickly approaching that date where we're going to accomplish our goal. And we're going to look at where Wave 6 is up on that. We're going to be looking at our release and policy updates. We know how important the unwinding is for everybody in this state and what's going on. So we're going to be really focusing on the continuous coverage unwinding. And we have some updates on the early CalFresh issuance, which is no longer needed. Spoiler alert on that one. And then we'll be talking about Benefits Cal, our roadmap, the ROI that is on hold, where the work group is. Agenda item 10 is going to be we're looking forward to being all 58 counties in sort of our M&E, but that doesn't slow things down. But how are we going to act in M&E? What is most important to the counties? So Peggy Macias, our customer engagement director, is going to be talking about an initiative that we're going to be kicking off called LEAP. As usual, we start getting towards M&O, M&E. We have to collapse some environments. Jeremy will be talking about that. We'll be talking about our contact center rollout, not just for our migration counties, but some of the functions and features for our production counties and getting everybody up to a standard sort of technology level on that. Tom will do a quick procurement update, then we'll go into our standard updates from QA, IV&V, our state partners, and of course, we want to be able to hear from our regions. So pretty full agenda, but I don't think we're going to be too pressed for time, Albert. So that's what we got.
Thank you, John. So this is just an announcement for the public has an opportunity to speak on items that are not on the agenda. Public comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, except that a speaker is using a translator should be allowed up to 6 minutes. Note that the public can also speak on any item on the agenda by waiting until the item is read and requesting recognition from the co-chair to speak. All lines will be muted when the meeting begins. To unmute, when connected via the computer, click the microphone icon. When connected via telephone, press #6. At this moment, are there any public comments on items not on the agenda? Seeing none and hearing none, John, I think that we can move on to item number 4.
All right, that brings us to our minutes from August 17th. And we just summarized what was in there. All of our action items, we do have 3 action items that are due in October. So we'll be giving an update on those 3 action items in October. So Albert, these are open for PSC consideration or to move approval.
This is when I move that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Thank you, Winna.
This
Second.
is Rachel from Region 3. I second.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that. Clarissa, you approve?
I do, I approve, John, thank you.
You, Anna?
I approve.
Great. Eduardo?
I approve.
Excellent. Cecilia?
I approve.
Thank you. Cindy?
Approve. Thank you.
Excellent. Elaine?
John, thank you.
Good. Albert?
Approve.
Great. Sandra?
I approve.
So much. Luther, do you approve for the record?
Approve for the record.
Thank you so much. And Olga?
Yes, I approve.
Excellent. That takes care of our action items, brings us to our informational items. And I'll turn it over to Arnold to start our Wave 5 debrief.
All right, thank you and good morning, everybody. Give you a little bit of perspective on what happened with 5B. It's hard to believe that was a little over 2 weeks ago since we already went into our 5C 6A conversion. But we did actually encounter a major issue with our 5B conversion that caused us to extend the conversion window by 25 hours. So we ended up coming up Tuesday morning at 6:24 a.m. versus Monday morning. And so that was a conscientious decision based upon the facts that I'm going to walk through right now. And so what happened was during the first run of the conversion process, the team identified an issue that resulted in close to 500,000 application fees, child support, and non-compliance records from being omitted from the conversion run. This would have resulted in sporadic system issues, user ID issues, missing data for those 3 counties. We found it in our controls during the course of the conversion process, and we were able to very quickly identify what the root cause was. And once we had that known, we made the decision with the project decision to take advantage of the fact that Labor Day was really a holiday for the bulk of the counties, and to restart the conversion and make sure that those records were available. This was a very challenging decision to make. I know it had impacts on Alameda, Fresno, and Sonoma from the perspective of Monday was supposed to be a relaxing day when you were in the system, getting used to CalSAWS, looking at your data, et cetera. So for that, I'm truly sorry for the impact that we had on that. We made the decision though, so that you had a very good experience starting Tuesday morning with all of your data. As well as the other 52 counties having a stable system as well. So we were able to reset the conversion process, rerun the conversion process, validated that the 500,000 records did make it into the conversion process, and had a successful second run. From looking forward to a 6B and Wave 6B to avoid reoccurrence. Since we know exactly what happened, it was a DCR, it's a data change request that was supposed to add default worker locations for each of the Wave 5 counties. That did not run successfully. Therefore, those default worker assignments were not available for the conversion process, which caused directly to the 500,000 worker or records falling out. For Wave 6, the change that is scheduled to run to add those for the Wave 6 counties is scheduled to run for tomorrow night. So we will be able to confirm well ahead of the conversion that those default values are in the production system and will be available. We have, in addition, we're identifying the root cause of why that DCR failed. And we have gone back and we have reviewed the other DCRs and SCRs that were implemented into production to make sure that this was the only occurrence, and it has been the only occurrence of the process failing. So with that, we move on to the next slide. I'll have Dan join us from our QA vendor perspective to help validate the checks that were implemented, as well as those are upcoming for future waves.
Good morning, this is Dan Dean with the Quality Assurance Team. Just have one slide to share that has two columns. The first column here shows what the Quality Assurance Team does side by side with the Accenture conversion team in counties as we click through their data. And it served us very well in waves 1 through 4. And on the right, we have a column where we're going to show you what we're going to do different in wave 6 to avoid this from happening in the future. In the first column, the project plan and table reads, that's really looking through project work plan as well as our configuration management tool called JIRA to make sure all the predecessor and successors are clearly documented and ready to go. We call it a pre-flight checklist, which is a review of both the code and the data that has to be moved, as well as the communications that have to go out the door and the milestones that we check as we go through the process. As far as during conversion, we are validating table and row counts. This is several hundred millions of rows of data. So it is summary checks and spot checks. And then as we get through each of those various tiers and stage gates, we check for specific functional things that matter. In the case of the application counts of 500,000, and that was generated on the third day of conversion. And the problem was from the first day, configuration item that wasn't properly moved. So what we're doing in wave 6 speed, I won't repeat everything in there, all the black text is the same, but the three new things are, as Arnold mentioned, we're doing an earlier deployment and validation of the default worker assignment information that we need. That's going out this weekend, which gives us over a month of verification as opposed to a week. We are also doing over-the-shoulder validation. So sometimes it's hard to find a needle in the haystack when something goes wrong, but when you know where that problem is, you know specifically where to look, it's actually quite simple, right? Hindsight's 2020. So we're gonna have two people with two sets of eyes, making sure that the right environments are updated at the right time. And the last thing we did was we went back into JIRA with the conversion team, did an expanded review for wave 6 of anything else that might have a similar pattern to this worker assignment. We did find at least one. Sacramento County has a specific configuration item they've opted into related to how they handle physical mailing for the homeless assistance population. So that will also receive the same treatment concerning over-the-shoulder validation. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Dan. We can move on to the next. So rewinding back to the 5B conversion, we did have a successful second run of that conversion effort. And we came up, as I said, at 6:24 a.m. on Tuesday. We converted 989,000 cases, over 2.6 million persons and recipients, over 4,500 county workers added, and 4.19 billion roads transferred from CalWIN to CalSAWS during the course of the weekend. And it's important to realize that on top of just that CalWIN to CalSAWS conversion, Alameda, Fresno, and Sonoma also went live on contact center and the new imaging solutions. So kudos to the counties for just the excellent preparation and going live with everything in that would occurred over the course of that weekend. We move on to the next slide. What we've seen after the conversion is that all systems have been stable and have achieved a new record of 25,666 county workers simultaneously logged in and working across the 55 production counties. We did have an AWS issue on Monday that we will be talking about in another section. That has been the only instability that was encountered, and it was not related to the conversion or the data that was brought across on the conversion. Our nightly batch for the 55 production counties continues to complete ahead of the 6 a.m. target, and online performance SLAs continue to be met with good performance across the counties. We move on to the next slide. I'll transition on and we can hear about the benefits Cal as well.
I am on mute. Thanks, Arnold. Just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of what we're seeing for Wave 5 for Benefits Cal adoption. The highlights, I'll say that's not necessarily reflective in the numbers that are presented on the screen are a couple of things that I wanted to note. While we have had more than 30,000 customer accounts that have been linked to date. So one thing to note on that means that those individuals can now access their cases. They can submit their SAR-7s, they can access their renewals, they can view their EBT balances, report changes. So we've got a large number of customer accounts that have been linked. When I checked this morning, overall for the Wave 5 counties, we have 30% of accounts that existed in the legacy MyBCW that have been recreated in Benefits Cal in a matter of about just under 3 weeks, which is a pretty compelling number, I'll say, relative to the previous waves. We were not at that conversion rate at this point. We're at the highest is 42% for one of the counties. At the lowest, we're at 20%. But the overall conversion rate of getting folks into Benefits Cal is pretty significant at this point. We're seeing normal usage of applications, of documents. I checked this morning while this information is dated, we're 3x. We're about 150,000 documents that have been uploaded to date. And one other difference that we saw with previous waves, and this is largely attributed to the change that was made that gives people access to their renewals almost right away from when they've linked their cases, is that we've seen renewals submitted on the first day, which we did not see historically. So that change that was introduced has actually helped out with people to be able to get access to their renewals and submit them online. And then the last item, we did add 600 plus CBOs. We're now north of 7,200 CBOs overall in Benefits Cal.
Rachel, before we turn it over to the counties to hear their perspective, just a quick question. When you start using, talking about those conversion rates and the percent of former MyBCW customers converting over to Benefits Cal, I would assume that it is not a valid expectation that we would reach 100% because some of those accounts in MyBCW were aged, were duplicate and things like that. So that if anybody had an expectation that we're ever going to hit 100%, that is an unrealistic expectation. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, John. So the number that we're using as alcohol, as the denominator in this is anyone that had accessed MyBCW within the last 12 months as a recurring user. Those individuals may no longer be on assistance. So there are, I'll say, a variety of reasons, the same of what you mentioned, that we would not get to 100%. So I think you are, it's an accurate statement to say that we would not achieve 100%, but sitting where we are right now, that almost a third of those exist in the first 2.5 weeks is pretty impressive so far. And I would say that's a lot attributed to the county's marketing that they have done. We saw a mass amount of marketing that the counties did to help people with understanding what was coming available with Benefits Cal.
Very good. And we'll talk a little bit about Benefits Cal later on in the agenda. Going back, Arnold and Dan, to the incident that occurred over the conversion weekend, we know that you guys have identified it. We're running that job early for our Wave 6 counties. And just the assumption is that as we run that early, there's no Delta process or anything that has to continue to run because we're running it so early. So the default worker is a one-time job that we validate. And if the data changes as we come up on conversion weekend, there isn't anything else that we have to do to ensure that all of the default workers come over. Is there something we have to do in between the time we run it and the conversion event?
No, this is an initial load. The default record is going to remain unchanged. It's also the team has worked closely with each of the Wave 6 counties to identify for each of the locations. So it'll be what we call static data, which means it's unchanged.
Very good.
You'd have to add a new office.
Yeah, they'd have to, exactly.
Yeah. So Wave 6, if you're gonna add a new office, please let us know.
Or
else-
after
It is a valid point. I mean, it's a 4-week window, so. Yes.
All right, we want to hear from our counties and Wave 5, and I'm going to start with Alameda and Anissa. If you want to hop on and let us know how things are going in Alameda County. Are you out there, Anissa?
Hi, good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine, thank you.
Excellent. Well, hi, good morning, everyone. Anissa here from Alameda County, just calling in to give you an update and let you know. First of all, number one, it was not Alameda County that caused the issue. So we were relieved to hear that in terms of that. So thank you to everyone. We were a little concerned there for a minute because I know that we are a large county. At any rate, I want to let you know that overall, the sentiment is that it went well, as best as to be expected. We were a little concerned there for a minute or for 24 hours. But once we got past that piece, it was not smooth sailing. There were some hiccups. We had some concerns with imaging, which thank you so much to the CalSouth project for swiftly working with our imaging team to help resolve the issues. We were having some slowness and some connectivity issues that both our county ITD and the project were helpful to resolve that. We also had some issues in terms of our financial, some checks not connecting. There were some concerns there. Our finance team did work with the project and with our county ITD and internal departments to resolve that issue as well. Fortunately, we had set up a command center where we were doing 2-a-days. So every morning at 9 a.m. and every afternoon at 1 p.m. we were checking in with all our offices. Each office had a designated person that would call in and give updates in terms of what was happening so that we could resolve things in real time. So that was extremely helpful. Thank you so much for our CalSouth project team, especially for Julie. Huge kudos to her, to Mary, to Duncan. I also want to give huge kudos to our team over here in Alameda County, Glenn Wallace, Brenda Baumgardner, Jose Argueta, Antoinette Burns, incredible leads within our teams, as well as all our division directors. And all our program staff that have just been working literally around the clock, especially through the click through at 2 a.m. That was really tough for our team, but they made it through it. And so overall, it's been great. We've continued to have check-ins. We've now are doing 2 check-ins a week with our team. We continue to work through there. There are still some hiccups. We are working with Julie to submit some SDRs. And, we're just really grateful for the project and thank you all for all your time and attention with Alameda County. It's been a good process, been some growing pains. We're going to continue to have some growing pains. We're working through our business operations, but I think we'll get through it. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, Anissa. Definitely appreciate it and your executive leadership. Let's go to Sonoma County. Paula, you out there?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Paula Klodowski, and I want to echo what my colleague Anita said about the experience overall up front. Things are going really well. Without a few little hiccups in there, it would have been a little smoother, but probably not as challenging and enjoyable to dig in and solve the problem. We did really appreciate all the communication from the project over Go Live weekend, that there was a plan in place, and we knew we were going to get there. You just have to sit tight. One of the biggest learnings that we've had here is how many partnerships it takes to make the transition smooth and make it enjoyable. So I do want to call out particularly our team members here in Sonoma County, some of whom have been working on this project nearly 5 years. So Lee Sparka, Victoria Gillis, Karen Taylor, and Suzanne May. Lise has been our fearless leader from the beginning, mapping out all the steps, coaching, inspiring, holding people's anxieties as our PPOC, IPOC and every other role. Victoria, Karen, and Suzanne, it's your relationships and years of working within these teams that sort of help pave the way for people to embrace this challenge. I do want to call out especially Santa Cruz and Orange County. Santa Cruz County, we used and borrowed their toolkit from the very beginning. So we set out a lot of goals for ourselves early on and then held ourselves accountable to that. Importantly, that we would give our staff the tools and resources they need to get on the backside of it with success, and that we wouldn't see a lot of disruption to our service delivery. So thank you to Santa Cruz. And then thank you to Orange, because we did use their go live plan. And just like Anissa was describing, we had a command center model where each of our sites had leads, and we had 2 meetings a day to touch bases with each other. We also used the Teams platform, which we tested out. So we didn't just push the envelope on CalSAWS, we tested out Teams, and we did all of our communication and document posting in a single place for folks. Another special shout out, just like Anissa, to our regional manager, Bobby. I really can't say enough about Bobby's support. A master at listening to our challenges. You can see her immediately start thinking downstream, upstream impacts. What's a potential solution? Her calmness, but at the same time energized us to think outside the box and to, kind of get over that hump of now what do we do? She just absolutely incredible. So thank you, Bobby. And again, to the project for all of your guidance. In the end, our strength really was leaning into that structure, that post-go live structure. We continue to identify business process changes that we're going to need to figure out. We continue to find security profiling. We're in the same boat with the warrants, but, everyone is working together. And in this partnership, we really are looking back and saying we did it. So thank you again to everyone.
Thank you, Paula. You guys have been just an outstanding partner, and we definitely appreciate your leadership. And let's go to Fresno. Is anybody on from Fresno? I don't know if Sonia was able to join us, but is there somebody on from Fresno to give an update?
Hi, good morning. This is Angie Flores, Implementation Manager for Fresno. Our director's not able to join this morning. So thank you for giving us an opportunity to provide our feedback. It was a bumpy start, just to echo what Alameda and Sonoma just shared. As much as we attempted to learn from the other prior waves and we attempted to prepare, nonetheless, we still experienced some of the same issues, around access and training. But for the most part, it has been surprisingly a better transition versus prior system conversion. So we just want to take a moment to thank the project and thank everybody who has been able to support us out of county support, the TOS team members, our regional managers, Joe, Justin, and Matt, who have been showing up every day for us. And we truly appreciate all of the support. So overall, the conversion again has been smoother than previously expected. So other than that, we're nearing the end of week 3, and things are just getting better by the day. So thank you all.
Thank you, Angie. Definitely appreciate it. All right, Albert, that wraps up our Wave 5 Go Live debrief. Back to you for questions or comment.
Thank you, John, and congratulations to the 3 counties who are just moved up closer to our goal. Any questions or comments from the PSC? Winner?
Good morning. So I just had a question, and this may go back to Arnold. First of all, I am very grateful that we were able to bring the system up on Tuesday morning. We were cutting it kind of close. But my question is, being that we were already in wave 5, and this issue seems to have appeared back in August. Why wasn't it caught, or was there not any QC done in August to prevent us from reaching the point that we did and cutting the deadline so close? And I bring that up because for us, the day after a holiday is critical. So every minute that we're delayed in the process can have an adverse impact. So I was just curious to see, and I heard there's some changes that are taking place for the next wave, but is there anything else that we may need to be aware of, or that the team may need to go in and double check so that we don't run into this issue again?
Hi, Wenna. It's a very valid question, and we've been working within the team as well as with our QA vendor and the consortium to identify if there were any other areas that we need to be examining. And that's why we went back into what's called our system change requests records and a system called JIRA that you heard reference to look at all of those items that are required for us to have a successful go live. And identify those items and do a double check that they have been applied. For this specific issue, what we ran into on wave 5, we actually had a failure in an automated process that was not caught in post validation. And so that is also where we are reviewing the automated processes to make sure we have the appropriate validation that they completed successfully, which in this case would have meant that the data was added to production. So yes, we have looked, more broadly than just this one specific DCR to look at the other processes and changes that could have an influence and impact on wave 6. And to date, we have not found anything else, and our QA vendor has not in the consortium as well. So we are very thoroughly looking at it and having multiple parties confirm as well.
Thank you.
Clarissa, we want to hop in?
Yeah, so congratulations to the wave 5 counties. Can you hear me okay? But I am a little worried about our wave 6 counties that are coming live. So thank you for explaining that, Arnold. My question is really around communication. So hopefully this will not happen for wave 6 particularly because we don't have a holiday, right? We don't have the extra 24, 25 hours that fortunately wave 5 was able to take advantage of. So, but what if I or my team were not watching the 3 o'clock calls? I don't know that we would have been alerted that something was not going right. Can you talk a little bit, John, about what's the communication to the other CalSAWS counties who are waiting for the system to go up? Because we in San Mateo County had some planned overtime for that holiday, but we needed to cut that off before Monday.
The planned communication is what worked for you. It's those emails and those 3 o'clock calls. Now, we know that as that was identified that we're going to need the extra 24 hours, and thankfully we had that we had to make that call quickly. And I'll, being transparent with everybody, as we made that call to say the best of all situations is to restart this conversion and do that over again. If we would have just done a straight line projection, we would have been past 7 a.m. on Monday. The team had to go back and crash the schedule and run duplicate parallel processes to be able to bring it in prior to 7 o'clock. Those 3 o'clock the emails and then the 3 o'clock meetings are just so important for us to keep that communication. We don't anticipate this for wave 6. We didn't anticipate it for wave 5, to be honest. But we are going to communicate as early as possible because we know, especially with the continuous coverage unwinding, that people are counting on the system to be able to work overtime, to be able to do those redeterminations. You have our commitment that we will communicate through those mechanisms. And if there's a bump, we'll be transparent and get that out as early as possible. And knowing that as we made that call on Sunday, it probably did not just jam our wave 5 counties, but other counties that were planning for some overtime. So good question, but I'm happy that those communication mechanisms worked, and please continue to monitor those. Albert, back to you.
Yeah, so again, I guess to echo, some of our speakers, those that are coming in the future with wave 6, but those of us that were on, it was like the perfect storm, right? So it was the beginning of the month. It was after a holiday, and we were lucky to have that buffer. But again, here for wave 6, even though we're gonna go live on October 30th, that's still 2 days before the first of a month again, which we all know that that's when people start coming in because the benefits were not issued and things of that nature, and we tend to get higher traffic during those days, especially those that are trying to return information so that their case doesn't close, and then those that close, they find out that their case has closed on the 1st because they have no benefits. So I know that we're tracking to everything that we know is in place. But between wave 5 and wave 6, are there any other changes that are being introduced in CalSAW? And are we also monitoring the impacts of those changes for the waves, for the cutover for wave 6?
So Albert, yes, we have our 2309 release that is going in this upcoming weekend. The conversion process has been uplifted to be compatible with that on both the CalSAW side, as well as CalWIN has had to make changes as well because ongoing policy. We do have another run of the conversion process that will be occurring in the first 2 weeks of October, where we will be able to validate that the changes that have been made have the intended impact and consequence on the conversion process. So that is the additional control that we are implementing to safeguard against variation that does occur with the system changes. Because unfortunately, we're in a point to where we're unable to freeze all changes on the system because policy doesn't allow us to do so. We have to run COLAs. There's questions around potentially running benefits earlier due to the pending shutdown of the federal government. So we know it's a very dynamic environment. We've added additional runs to help safeguard against unintended consequences.
Thank you. Any other questions from PSC members? Any questions of the public? Seeing none, John, I think we can go to item 6.
Very good. And that will start our looking back at wave 4 and our retrospective. So Gretchen, you want to kick us off?
Good morning, John. Just quick sound check, make sure that you're able to hear me.
Oh, good.
Awesome, thank you. So good morning, everyone. I'm Gretchen Williams with the ClearVest QA team. And as the CalSAW's Migration Retrospective Facilitator, I, along with my fellow presenters, are pleased to join you today to provide a Wave 4 retro update. So as John mentioned during the agenda overview, CalSAW's follows a standard approach for migration retrospectives. So upon conclusion of each wave, the project teams come together to reflect on lessons learned and explore potential opportunities for improvement. So the presenters that will be joining me today will be sharing specific outcomes from their respective areas based on what was learned through the Wave 4 activities and the action that was taken to continuously improve the migration experience for the counties and subsequent waves. I think this ties nicely into the conversation that we've just concluded around the conversion topic. So with the retrospective approach taken by the project, it truly is multifaceted, meaning that reflection is conducted through multiple lenses with input captured from different viewpoints. So sessions are conducted with internal project teams to discuss observations and identify potential enhancement opportunities. But sessions are also conducted directly within each participating county to gain insight on their migration experience. And as we're hearing from our county partners this morning, the strong partnerships and collaboration truly have been key in our migration activities. Next slide, please. So the internal retrospective sessions consist of guided discussions where teams pause to reflect on what worked, they share observations and potential opportunities for improvement, and then we conclude those discussions with brainstorming on recommended action. So based on the complexity and/or the time sensitivity of the action identified, teams may be applying real-time adjustments within the current wave, similar to the conversion discussion that we've just concluded, or teams could also be initiating activity within a current wave. They're beginning to action on it, but they will be adjustments that will be applied that benefit future wave counties. So we have a list of internal project sessions by topic that are included here on the slide. It's simply to demonstrate the diversity of the areas that are covered and the commitment that the project has to assessing all facets of migration activities. And as I mentioned, the presenters joining me today will go into further detail. Next slide, please. So the content that comes out of each session enables the teams to action on adjustments as needed. This includes both internal activities such as cross-team collaboration or process improvements, and changes that are more external facing, such as providing additional resources or on-site support coordination, which directly benefits our participating counties. The information that we're sharing today has been rolled up to provide a high-level overview with a specific focus on action that's taken that will result in direct benefit to the counties. It is worth noting that we fully anticipated and have already experienced a reduction in the number of observations and recommended actions captured within each migration wave. So simply put, the actions taken based on our lessons learned in prior waves has enabled the project to further refine the planning and the execution of migration activities, which has benefited both the project and our county partners. So each of my fellow presenters will focus first on the themes that were identified in their sessions around improvement opportunities, and then provide a recap on the specific actions that were taken as a result of what we learned in Wave 4. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Catherine to kick us off with OCM training and implementation.
Thank you, Gretchen, and good morning, everyone. The next two slides will cover our implementation support services work streams, specifically, as Gretchen mentioned, from training, OCM, and implementation. The overall themes for our Wave 4 Retro is more about our internal coordination, infusing change management into implementation meetings and vice versa, higher degrees of coordination with the regional managers who play such a critical and successful role of our migrations, and working with the counties throughout the migration with communication. In addition, our last theme is really around reinforcing processes for realigning post-implementation support and working with the RMs and the counties collaboratively together so they are empowered for suggesting changes that work best with their counties. The next slide provides the tools, processes, and the communication changes which we were able to apply for Wave 5 and are looking forward to applying for Wave 6. So let's go ahead and start with the tools. OCM has resources on site the first few weeks of each go live. They are now also integrated with our broad implementation efforts. For training, their efforts had some lessons learned regarding the pure volume of our Wave 4 counties and the total number. Wave 4 had 4 counties, whereas Wave 5 and 6 had 3 counties included, and all of those lessons learned have been mitigated. On behalf of implementation, we highlighted with more emphasis, specifically during the orientation sessions for our Wave 5 county support volunteers around the processes, how to inform the project and the counties of any changes that need to take place. For processes, the theme of coordination is very prevalent. For OCM, they were not included in any of the pre-implementation meetings and now attend and support both pre and post activities. Implementation was focused on streamlining processes for the counties to realign resources based on their county specific needs, as well as their office, the services that each of their offices provide, and having the regional managers be central to those efforts and the coordination with the project. Next, for communication. OCM is focused on sharing their lessons learned with their change management activities, the surveys, and integrating that into the implementation pre-go live activities. For implementation, communications was focused on reformatting the county prep daily debrief documentation to focus on what interests the counties most, responding and resolving their questions from the office hours and providing more information on that question tracker that is sent out after the daily debrief. Now I'll turn it over to Dawn to highlight the contact center, imaging, and lobby management work streams.
Yes, thank you, Catherine. I appreciate it. Within the contact center, imaging, and lobby management retrospectives, we had the opportunity to apply various changes within communication, county support, lessons learned that focused within our resources. Within those, we couldn't have done it without the county, so thank you for your partnership and engagement from the Wave 4 counties as well as into the Wave 5, because we were able to apply these. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. We have pneumatic themes of tools, processes, and communications. If you focus on tools, we had identified even earlier in earlier waves that our early engagement with the county would assist within imaging support staff as well as pre and post go live activities. We did apply that, and you heard earlier it sounded from our county counterparts that we were able to apply that and assist from Alameda, Sonoma, as well as our other county. Excuse me. Within the tools, the last part was we identified and evolved our kiosk and lobby management plan. Not all counties leverage these, but the counties that do, we want to continue this plan into ongoing support for our managed and unmanaged counties. Within the process column, you'll see we collaborated within the counties for contact center. And we provided value in letting them understand the virtual support services. This was leveraged in Wave 4. I think it was a little more leveraged within Wave 5 as well. And we plan to have that also for Wave 6. This was specific to contact center, where the county's contact center folks could get assistance, and then we had folks on site as well supporting. But if the on-site folks couldn't handle it or may not have coverage, we leveraged the virtual support. We also continued within imaging for the offices and providing the county offices that have imaging services. We wanted to make sure we assign the appropriate staff, get them assigned, because some offices have more intake of imaging, if you will, than others. As well as we rotated our staff as needed to offices. And I believe that the Wave 5 counties and 4 saw that. In the last section, we have communication. And within communication, again, contact center, because that's a critical component for our counties and the first line for many of our customers. We assisted the counties in lessons learned that we had before, and also assisted within the development of some of the call test scripts. This was early on within Model Office, because that was before go live. We also collaborated with the ISS team on a one-touch design that really adjusted some of the BPR delivery and saw some value. Those were the slides that we had for contact center imaging lobby management. I'll turn it over to Rachel Hernandez as the next presenter.
Good morning, everybody. This is Rachel Hernandez, and I will be covering the county data validation and conversion aspects in retrospective. And what we see here from a themes perspective are just increased county touchpoints, communication overall, enhanced access to the materials and resources. These also have been things that have come up through prior waves, and we continue to enhance. If we can go to the next slide. As we cover the different areas, tools, processes, and communication, we'll be covering them from a county data validation perspective, as well as a conversion perspective. From a tools perspective for county data validation, the scripts had a little bit more enhancement to them. Training tips and recordings have been updated to include more of the validating how to use the scripts, logging and finding, masking the data. We also have the recordings that are uploaded in the web portal for counties to access. We've enhanced the education on identifying cases for this effort. The data is mass, so that was one of the learning curves in identifying, what cases to be able to validate through this process. From a conversion perspective, there's a curfew process that has been evolved to better and clearly communicate, what that window is for the counties to participate, what types of resources are needed to participate for the click-through activities for the cutover weekends. Moving on to the process, from a CDV perspective, the kickoff meetings were enhanced a little bit more to include more live demonstrations and walkthroughs, as well as the access for the participants themselves was enhanced to be a little bit more than just what they normally have, so that they can navigate clearly through the cases and do and complete their county data validation against the data itself. From a conversion perspective, there was we implemented a pre-flight checklist meeting that happens prior to even the cutover, where we validate the conversion codes, we validate the milestones in preparation for the actual cutover itself, as well as data change requests that are applied that help decrease the yellow banner cases. And what that means is these are updates to the converted data to make some more cleaner data as part of this process. On the communication side of the house, on the CDV front, there is a mapping transformation report, as well as what you need to know documentation that has been shared with the participants to help in that county data validation process. And lastly, on the conversion side, additional weekend touch points were included as part of the county click-through, so that participants are kept abreast of here's what the timings are, and to communicate any changes in the schedule in real-time mode. With that, that concludes the conversion retro, and I'll pass it on to Rachel Fry.
Thanks, Rachel. So the themes around Benefits Cal relative to Wave 4 are really to figure out ways to increase adoption more than anything else. So if we could go to the next slide, wanted to identify a couple of specific improvements. One is that we did find in some of the county offices that there was an opportunity to make sure that we were doing more branding and visualization of Benefits Cal availability. That includes things like making sure that the monitors in the lobbies are reflective of Benefits Cal, that any signage or posters that may have had my BCW branding on it were changed to Benefits Cal. And so the opportunity here for the future waves is we have added additional items to the readiness checklist for specifically looking at the lobbies. From a process perspective, we also wanted to make sure that the county offices that had really high foot traffic had opportunities for them to have access to demos and support on site. So that individuals could assist individuals that were in the lobbies when they had questions about creating accounts or uploading documents. And so working with those counties and those offices to make sure that the greeters and the folks that actually support the lobbies had access to that information and were provided training on that as well. And then the last item is that we know that word of mouth is probably the best means of marketing Benefits Cal, whether that's from caseworkers or when they enter the lobby. So to make sure that there is sufficient communication around the awareness for Benefits Cal, whether it's in the lobbies through caseworkers. We've seen with Wave 5 a huge marketing campaign from a number of the counties, and it is proving to be resulting in positive impact and positive adoption. So with that, I am going to turn it back over to Albert. That concludes the retrospective.
Thank you. Any questions from PSC? Any questions of the public? Seeing none, hear none, thank you. And we can go on to our next item.
Hey, y'all, this is Ruben. Is it okay to make a comment?
Yeah, please do, Ruben.
Yes, Ruben. Is this for
Thank you.
item number 6?
Yeah, on the previous offerings.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and just as a facilitation request, y'all, could we give maybe like 10, 15 seconds when we say, are there any questions from the public? Because by the time that we say questions from the public and then we hear seeing none, let's move on, I'm like, damn, my finger doesn't move that fast to unmute myself and be able to participate. So just appreciation for a little bit more grace and time on that. So I'm Ruben, y'all. I'm at UC Berkeley, but I organize our college and university efforts for basic needs. Thank you all so much for all of the great information that's being shared. I am in Alameda County, so I just want to do a quick county shout out. I know I'm going to be in trouble with the rest of the counties, but just wanted to say thank you for the recent wave transition that has happened. Really appreciate all of the work that has gone into that if they're still here on the call with us. I just wanted to put something on your radar just as a lesson learned in retrospective or what have you. We want to make sure that folks know in this community in particular that the highest months of activity for colleges and universities across the country that have over across California, there's over 2 million college students in public universities. Our peak season is August, September, October. That's when we start our academic year. And that's when we prioritize a lot of our CalFresh efforts. So unfortunately, this last wave that took place landed during peak season. And of course, we're champions, y'all. And we're believers in this. And we're major advocates of this transition being as successful as possible. But the transition did happen during peak season. And several of our colleges were asked to just graceful and intention in the transition. And the first wave of mass messages that go out were not sent out because we wanted to make sure that the transition happened smoothly and successfully. And we're just now starting to kick off major outreach efforts. So to give you an example, at UC Berkeley, we're already going into our second month of school. And we just sent out this week, the first mass message that went to 6,000 students. And compared to previous years, within the first month, we would have sent a message to over 12,000 students. And within the first month, we would have seen our largest activity of outreach and application assistance, which obviously we could not do this year. So I just wanted to lift that so that we're mindful moving forward as we are working this to lift and visibilize our college populations and just make sure that folks know that August, September, October are peak seasons. So when changes happen, implementation processes, that A, were taken into consideration, B, folks are trained on the college population, and C, that we make equitable adjustments so that we can make up for that slower pace to make sure that by the end of the academic year, we continue to be on target and ideally increase. So just wanted to say thank you once again, and just to visibilize and make sure that I lifted that. And here in this community location, I am going to be sending a message to you all to John's request from our last meeting. We have centralized the bills and the new state language that is mandating reporting on the participation and the enrollment of college students in social services. So John, I got you. We did our homework. It's ready to go. I'm going to send that over to you all tomorrow. But thank you all so much, and passing the mic back to you all.
Thank you, Ruben, and understood. Are there any other questions before we move on to our next item? Okay, John, I think we can go to item number 7.
Right, I think Catherine, you're gonna kick us off on this.
Perfect. Thank you, John. All right, so all of our Wave 6 counties and project teams are busy at work as we near just 5 weeks prior to the Wave 6 go live for our final 3 counties. A couple of things to highlight for everyone's awareness this morning. Our first watch item is regarding imaging with this, which is part of our application readiness. This is tied to risk number 264, and the project team is working with the county to identify any type of imaging activities and the plan for the cutover weekend. Arnold will touch on this on a few subsequent slides. County network connectivity is also complete, and the counties continue to work within their county prep activities, and I'll touch on that in just a moment. The second watch item that we are closely tracking and working with the counties is regarding the county integration for county interface partner testing. San Francisco and Sacramento have completed their IPT testing this past week, and the project is working with SLO on their final interface with their bank to complete testing. The counties are working with their external partner, which is their bank for that, the bank interface, and they will be completing and validating that testing, and the files that are sent are complete, and we are hoping within the next 3 to 5 business days. But this continues to be one of our watch items, and SLO has been working very closely with the project team on this as well. For training readiness areas, continuing to work with both all 3 of the counties on their WBT, as well as their instructor-led end user trainings. For implementation, a couple of things to highlight, and perhaps one of the biggest changes from the last time we met. The counties are busy completing their first week of the county prep activities. Staff are logging into the CalSAWS environment, and county leads are also completing their configuration and system setup activities. We are also working with the other CalSAWS counties preparing for the Wave 6 post-implementation support migration. Lastly, there is one more watch item, which is in regards to the ad hoc report refactoring, which Arnold will also highlight when we cover risk number 269. On the next slide, Arnold and the team will discuss the 5C and 6A cutover weekend.
Good morning, everyone. So wanted to walk through the 5C, 6A cutover. Wave 5C is representing closed cases. That completed this last weekend. For Wave 6A, which represents bringing in the staff workers so that they can configure their county prep activities. So this was scheduled to happen on Friday night at 8 p.m. with a cutover completing Monday morning 6 a.m. I'm happy to announce that we completed this successfully ahead of schedule and had the system up Sunday evening. The counties were the counties that participated in county click-through were very happy that they were able to validate on Sunday and have seen all of their closed cases and started their county prep activities Monday morning. Next slide, we'll talk about Wave 6B, which is the actual cutover of the cases. These are active cases. This will bring Wave 6 into CalSAWS with their full caseload. That activity is scheduled for starting on Thursday, 10/26 at 6 p.m. with CalWIN going down. CalSAWS will then go down on Friday at 8 p.m. and all of CalSAWS will be up before Monday morning, 6 a.m., bringing us with 58 counties live in CalSAWS. Going to the next slide, let's talk about the issue that Arnold mentioned earlier in the call around the 5B issue and what we're doing to address it for Wave 6. So as part of that activity, we are making sure that the AppDev SCR for the generic workers is applied to production tomorrow night. The conversion team, along with the application team, will be doing validations in production the next business day to ensure that everything is properly set up and configured correctly for all 3 counties for wave 6. Additionally, as we mentioned by our QA partner, Dan Dean has talked about the additional checks and balances that we will do as part of the cutover to ensure that we are smoothly converting all of that information. We feel confident that we have had a clean internal run earlier with this data and that we can meet the 84-hour window for wave 6. Handing it over to Arnold to walk through the rest of the project risks.
All right, so if we can go up one slide. Overall risk exposure, you'll see if we compare to where we were a year ago in June, we are at a significantly lower risk, and that is to be expected as we have successfully completed 5 waves of conversion activities. We did see a little uptick in the risk exposure between August and September, and that is directly related to the issues that we ran into with 5B, and we'll see on the subsequent slide has translated into risk 258 being increased to an amber. So if we can move on to the next slide. We will go through the listing of the project risks that are open in regards to the conversion, and I'll have Catherine join us and kick us off with risk 262.
Thank you. Risk 262 is all about preparing the counties with timely and the right information leading into their go live. For wave 6 counties, we've increased the number of meetings and the frequency by which we are meeting, both on the TOS and the IPOC level, as well as with the county leadership. We're also tracking all of the items, the questions, with a more diligent approach to being able to resolve and provide timely responses to better equip the counties leading into the migration. Arnold, if you can start with 264.
Absolutely. So with 264, this is in regards to the imaging migration that Catherine was talking about. This is actually trending to green as our final county has worked through their Delta process and is going to be integrated with the overall timing for that conversion weekend. And just as a refresher, that Delta process refers to the transferring of the images from the current production system over to the Highlands solution for any recent activity within the last couple of weeks leading up to that conversion process. So there was a concern that we wouldn't meet the conversion timeline. That concern has been mitigated, and we will see this trend to green. Moving to 269, Calhoun counties may not have enough development testing timeline to refactor their ad hoc reports and ancillary systems. We leave this as an amber, as there is a schedule for those wave 6 counties that each of them are working through and have prioritized their day 0 reports that are required on the first day after go live, and then the subsequent reports that can come in after the go live. Right now, for all 3 counties, they are working with the Gainwell staff, and at this point, there aren't any indications that we'll have issues meeting that timeline, but we will continue to maintain amber status as we run up into the conversion event just to maintain focus on this. Catherine, I'll let you run over 289.
Risk 289 is all about assisting the counties for their external partners being able to log into the appropriate CalSAWS childcare portal or Benefits Cal logins. We are actively working with all 3 of the counties on making sure that they've got the alignment and that crosswalk of who accesses what portal, and making sure that they have all of the communications associated to that completed in time. We are tracking towards retiring this risks over the next 3 weeks, as we have a plan in place with all of the counties to make sure that their external partners can access the appropriate portal. Arnold, over to you for 258.
All right, so with 258, this is a risk that is associated with the conversion cutover window at risk of completing past the 84-hour cutover window. This was green for wave 6B. It is trending back to green for wave 6B. The reason why we went to amber was because the 5B conversion completed in 109 hours because of the issue that we had before. The additional controls have been implemented and will be verified through the final run in the non-production environment that will occur during the first 2 weeks of October. So this will remain yellow until we get the results of that final run, and we are highly confident that we will complete within the 84-hour window. Catherine, I'll let you move to 285.
285 is about preparing the Calhoun counties to operationalize CalSAWS after their go live on October 30th. Specifically, the TOS and the ISS team have been working with the counties to provide the proposed escalation approach, the implementation approach as well, what they can expect, and how the project can help support them to really transition to CalSAWS through that self-sufficiency period between their go live date and the end of December on 12/29. We are actively working with the counties, like I had mentioned, in their TOS meetings, and we are also providing and preparing materials of lessons learned and also leading practices from the prior 5 wave go lives. Arnold, back to you for 279.
Yep. 279 refers to the Calhoun counties may not be prepared to reconcile fiscal and submit state reports timely as they migrate to CalSAWS. Again, we leave this as an amber risk to maintain visibility to it. There are detailed meetings that are occurring with the Wave 6 or will be occurring with the Wave 6 counties 2 weeks prior to the actual go live, outlining that fiscal and state report process, as well as there are meetings that occur on Thursdays after go live where counties can obtain assistance to answer questions and raise potential issues. And that is for the production counties as well as the Wave 6 counties. So we keep this risk open for 2 months after conversion, as the first month will be a hybrid close between CalWin and CalSAWS, and the second month is closed completely on CalSAWS. So the counties will still have that support as they go through that process. Moving on to 280. Unresolved go-live dependent defects not resolved prior to the wave go-live could impact county caseworker business. So as we have seen, the trend has been each conversion has been cleaner than the previous. We saw that with 4B. The 5B is also following that trend at this current point in time, realizing we are only 3 weeks into it and other issues could be raised or be identified. But the process has been working in the fact that we do have daily meetings with the counties outlining what those defects are. The conversion team has a list of those defects that will be resolved prior to the go live, as well as the list of those defects that will be resolved in the 10 days after the go live. If there are any defects that are in the system at the time of go live that require a county workaround, those are included in the go live packet that is being distributed to the counties prior to go live. So they have those workarounds and description of the potential issues that may be encountered. We move on to the last category. This is around CalSAWS scalability and system performance risks. Risk 240, scaling of CalSAWS production operations, including batch operations to provide 58 county support without effectively taking into account the multi-county and multi-vendor CalSAWS ecosystem, may impact business operations. This is another risk that we maintain at an amber status. We will be able to trend this to green because there is an actual deliverable that we have that is a checklist for each of those 3 production counties that basically make sure that we have the processes and communication channels in existence for those counties for receiving communications around the exchange of the files that occur during the batch interface processing, the reporting of issues, reporting of system events, enhancements, how to submit enhancement requests, as well as just general project communications. And that will be verified to be complete prior to the actual go live. So with that, that brings us to the end of the risk discussion. Albert, I will transition back to you for questions.
Thank you, Arnold. Any questions from PSC?
Bordeaux?
Thank you, John. Thank you, Albert. Just a quick clarification. If I might have missed this, I apologize. I thought I heard something about Sacramento County and a potential, I don't know if it was a risk or just clarification for homeless mail and something that Sacramento County either opted out of or opted into. I'm not sure if that's part of this risk factor.
Catherine, do you want to talk about that from an ISS perspective?
From an ISS perspective, I didn't quite hear, sorry, Arnold, the question regarding Sacramento.
I think you're asking about the item we raised as part of our, what are we looking in wave 6 to do different from wave 5?
Yes.
And it was me that made the statement that we went back through our list of configuration items that have to happen after conversion. So it was a similar type of item. Sacramento has a specific PO box that they have, and rather than mailing that homeless assistance population's mail out to that PO box and then going to get it, they're going to hold it at the office. So that's the one that they opted into.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Clarissa has her hand up. Go ahead, Clarissa.
So just a quick question, and maybe it's just me. I see a lot more amber on wave 6 than the previous waves. Is there a reason for that? Or?
Clarissa, if you look at those risks, that's actually pretty consistent with all of them, other than 258, which is the conversion 84-hour risk, which we turned to amber as a result of the 5B. But we do have a path forward on those. The risk level that we see on those remaining risks is consistent with previous waves.
Okay.
There isn't anything special.
A lot less green this time.
Because we closed out some of our green risks and retired them. So the slide, you're accurate. Your eyes didn't deceive you. On the slide, there is a lot more amber because a lot of our green risks were also retired.
Got it.
And we're down to one slide now. So
Okay, I got it. And then one other question. I know earlier you mentioned that there were some things you were doing, extra things on the checklist that you were going to do to prevent what happened in wave 5B to 6B.
Correct.
And 2309 is really a huge release. Are you doing those things after 2309?
We have another run of the conversion process occurring after the 2309 release during the first 2 weeks of October. And that is what we will be using to validate that the conversion process has taken into account those changes with 2309.
It made me nervous when you said 2309 pre. I'm like, where's the pre happening? So
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Arnold. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Albert, I see Anna's hand up.
I just wanted to, say, I know I've been quiet over here, but Clarissa, I see what you see, but one thing that impressed me throughout this process is the transparency and communication right after what happened to 5B, and then also with all the reports I'm seeing right now for the wave 6 preparations. There's actually no surprise to me. We also have an internal group that talks about this on a weekly basis, and our Cal SOS manager, Bernadette, and also Clarissa Nantes, they've been pretty much up to speed in terms of what's going on. So we're very much aware, and some things we're tracking internally and some things communicating directly with the project team. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Are there any other questions of PSC? Questions of the public? Okay, hearing none. Next item, John?
Yeah, I think we're going to be going to our release and policy update. I see that Karen's come on camera. And I think, is Yinja going to join you, Karen?
Yes, Ian just going to take the first slide and then I will go on from there.
Awesome.
Hi. Good morning, PSC members. I'm Yingzhe from DHCS. Quick, great updates this month for everyone. So we are making some really good enhancements to the ex parte process. As many of you know, the current ex parte percentage in the state of California is around 27-28%. Meaning that there are more worker touch along the way. We know the unwinding is very aggressive in terms of the volume of workload on the counties. So really a huge priority from both the federal and state government is really trying to enhance the ex parte process. So a couple of concrete enhancements that we are making that we know will have a good reduction, not only in workload, but an increase in the actual percentage wise, is automating the 100% FPL and zero income waiver, which we have received through a temporary federal flexibility through CMS. Also, we are looking at improving the Medicare check so that instead of the individual coming back for the counties to additional verification, we are looking to improve it so that in certain scenarios, the individual will move through the ex parte process, thereby reducing additional needs on the county front in terms of the touch. Also using ITIN for a lot of our populations without a social security number. So altogether, this will not only improve the ex parte percentage in the state of California, but also reduce and minimize a lot of the procedural terminations, not all, but we do anticipate there will be a slight dent to the decrease, making sure that, we are maintaining coverage for our members. So also in September, the first Friday, we released our July 2023 Unwinding Interactive Dashboard. And this one, what is different from the July versus the June version is that this dashboard includes a section on the disenrollments broken out by top 5 disenrollment reasons. So something for the public to take a look at. And in addition, we also were able to carve all the redeterminations measures and slice and dice it by various demographics, top ethnicity, as well as written language, gender. And so you have an ability to kind of look at it from various county slices of interest. And lastly, we just recently received another 2 approvals from the federal government on stable income and unconditionally available income. So we do have policy guidance that's been released, and we anticipate the stable income to really help move a lot of our age of blind disabled, so basically our non-magi populations, through what we call the ex parte process quickly without having to go back and forth, and potentially minimizing also the procedural terminations for this population. After reviewing the data, we knew that, there are lots of work that we can do and will continue working on to really improve the retention of coverage for the non-magi population. And we're very hopeful that the stable income E14 will really help us achieve that goal. So that's it for me. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Karen.
Thanks, Yinja. I just wanted, before we go to the next slide, I just wanted to make a quick mention of, on the agenda, there is a CalFresh potential early issuance listed there. Earlier this week, we were provided information, and I went out to all the counties as well, that the early CalFresh issuance was no longer necessary. And so CalFresh benefits will go out as normal for October. So we don't have a slide on it. I just wanted to mention that because it's really no longer an agenda item.
Karen,
Oh, go ahead.
Karen, one thing on that, just if people, I know as we talked in public meetings before about it, and everybody's hearing in the news, the potential of a federal government shutdown, and that's why the early issuance was being explored. Even if there is a shutdown, the early issuance isn't needed because of the funding of the program. It won't make that necessary. So the 2 aren't tied together, correct?
Correct. Now, if there is a shutdown that goes longer, that part's unknown, but for October, we're all good.
Thank you.
Lisa is not available today. So today for the CalSAWS updates, we have Vivek here to provide an update in this area. Vivek.
Thanks, Karen. So We are working very closely with the DHCS on automation options and timeline for the stable income waiver for non-Magi population. So in the meantime, before we implement the long-term solution, we are going to look at the cases that are having a RE due date for October and November, and we are going to advance the RE date for 1 more year before we implement the long-term solution. And we are also working very closely with the DHCS on the ex parte process. The team is actually making logic changes based on the discussions with the DHCS. Again, we are also making changes to our ad hoc queries that supports the self-ROS. We are also implementing another change for our medical RE process. When a customer uses the document upload feature in Benefits Cal and selects the document type as medical renewal, the customer reporting record in CalSource will be marked as received. The CalSource actually tracks the customer reporting record to take the negative action. The moment the record gets marked as received, the system will not take negative action on that particular case. This particular implementation is currently targeted for the 28th of this month.
Hey, Vivek, just to jump in real quick, and I just want to, for PSC's knowledge, we also discussed this yesterday at the CDSS quarterly stakeholder meeting with our advocate partners. The project took an action item because this has been a high priority for our advocate partners to make sure that their communities understand this enhancement. So as people are uploading their REs, that they code them correctly in order to not have an automatic negative action on those. We took an action item to be able to get some specific directions out to our advocate co-leads by a week from Friday. So right as that enhancement's going in, so they can get it out to their community. We're also going to get that out to our counties because you want to communicate with your public as well to make sure that they are coding those accurately, that we'll get that out to the counties via CIT. So this is a really important enhancement to sort of stay that automated discontinuance.
Thanks, John. Can you go to the next slide? So some of the key release highlights for CalSource. So last month on August 26th, we started our CalBooks CalFresh Cola and completed the process for all 52 counties on August 31st. Overall, we were able to achieve a success rate of 93% for that Cola run. And then on 14th of this month, we issued a CalFresh mass replacement for a targeted zip codes across 14 counties. So that was implemented this month on 14th. And again, this weekend, we have our 23.09, the major release that will be implemented in production. And on Monday, the changes will be available on the system. And again, next month on the 10th, we'll be restarting the TNB recertification. So for next month, we'll be targeting the TNB population with an RE due date of November. So that change is currently on the pipeline. And again, last release that is for this year is going to be on the November 20th. That is our 23.11 major release. So that is also on track. And again, I think it's for Rachel for Benefits Cal updates.
All right, we're moving on to Benefits Cal.
Is that owner?
Yeah, I was talking on mute, John.
There you go.
Sorry, I was
Thank
trying
you.
to talk on mute. I'm sorry. Thank you. So from the Benefits Cal releases highlight standpoint, what we see here is a high-level timeline for the monthly releases, key milestones in terms of the collaboration model meetings and the Calvin waves. And we are so happy to hear that, as John mentioned in the opening remarks, we are so happy to hear that, see that the Wave 5 counties are part of the family, integrated to both Benefits Cal and the CalSouth systems. And Wave 6 is on the corner. We are so excited to have Wave 6 counties too in the month of October once we complete that cutover too. From the key milestone standpoint, we have a collaboration model coming up, the third quarterly collaboration model coming up later it's actually tomorrow, scheduled for tomorrow. And since we met last time in the month of August, release 2308 is completed and release 2309 is scheduled for the 28th. But we do have a new slide coming up in the next slide. Basically, I will share more specifics for the release highlights standpoint. Another accomplishment or milestone I would like to share with the audience is last PSC meeting, we had shared that we had been working on a communication and marketing campaign, phase 2. And we are so excited to share that all the digital materials has been completed for this campaign, as well as the emails that has been identified. There are like 6 campaigns has been identified, and those emails also sent out. And we have a specific section to share those details with you on the benefits call updates. If you can move on to the next slide, please. So in terms of the release highlights, since, as I mentioned, since we met last time, our August release 2308 deployed to production. And that release 2308 had maybe key highlights are it had included enhancements where benefits call, announcements and the homepage improved, as well as the program selection page. All 3 items were collaboration model priorities. They have been completed as part of the release 2308 last month. And from the release 2309 standpoint, which is scheduled for the 28th of this month, next Thursday, it includes enhancements where the benefits called chatbot will be expanded with new intents, and which would improve the customer experience and reduce the phone calls the counties may receive. Also, a new tracker is in the works at the moment for the October release on the release 2310 to allow customers to see the renewals and the SAR7 status updates in the life cycle. These are the key highlights. Lynn, anything you would like to highlight on the releases?
Thanks, Onar. I think the one brief update that we have that was reflected on the slide before is the CalWorks time clocks into benefits CalWin. That was being tentatively targeted for a November release. Based off of input and reviews that had been done both in July and August, we are going to be looking at doing an implementation in March of 2024. In part, that allows for all 58 counties to be on the one system on CalSAWS, and for the former CalWin counties to have at least a couple of months under their belt on utilizing the CalSAWS functionality and an opportunity to look at those time clocks and make sure everything looks like it should, because as it will display in Benefits Cal, really trying to avoid any confusion on the client's behalf on if they see something there and they're kind of questioning it, because the counties are trying to work it through and get things updated if there's been anything that is slightly out of alignment, because we're dealing with moving information from one system into another. So are sometimes some things that we have to align. And also the other item is, we know that we'll have everybody all on the one system. So we have multiple people that would be having time on aid or calendars reflected across multiple counties. So that gives us a chance to get everything rounded. So again, that is just an update to that. You will see that it'll be a shift in showing for March instead.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks, Owner.
Albert and John, this was, last slide on this section. We will be handing over for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of PSC?
Hey, Albert, this is Rachel from Region 3. I had a question about the automation of some of the waivers. I was wondering if there's been any projection of the ex parte percentage with new automations, any projection about how much the percentage of no-touch REs will increase?
Yeah. I actually don't have a percentage, but I think with some initial forecasts, we anticipate the E14 automation will probably move. I think on an annual basis, looking at California's average caseload, about 190,000 individuals with no touch, and this is not just in the month. I think it's probably an annual forecast. So don't have a percentage of the total, but I think it is substantive enough that it will move us up a couple percentage points. And just for like a threshold comparison from a federal perspective, if we are hitting anything under 40% is something that is probably considered not as optimal for a state. But I think with this, as well as some of the fixes through the CalSAWS reporting, I think California will be hitting closer to that 40% optimal ex parte percentage.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, Albert. I have a question. It's Sandra. There was and I might have missed it, but for the REs being moved forward for October and November, I know it was mentioned that you're working with DHCS on that. Do we have an ETA on when we will know when those will be moving forward?
I will take that action item. I'll look into the JIRA and I'll get the dates when we are planning to implement the change.
So Sandra, just to repeat, Vivek's going to look at the dates that are documented in our tracking tool. And probably before the end of the meeting, we could drop those into the chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from PSC members?
Larissa has a question.
Just a couple of things. The ex parte percentage now across the 55 counties that are in CalSAWS, what is it? Do we know?
I think Yinja, when you said the statewide ex parte percentage is in the 27-ish, 27% range. I don't think it's much different for the 55 counties versus the counties that haven't come over, but I'll defer to you, Yinja, if that's different.
Yeah, that's correct. John, yeah, it's in the 20s, yeah, for the CalSAWS.
And then I did have another question.
Go ahead.
Any other questions from PSC?
One more question Clarissa has.
Yes, so on the uploading of medical renewals and the automatic changing of the status to received in CalSAWS, what is it changing to now?
So just quickly, and I'll have somebody clean up the status for me as they're getting uploaded.
Yes.
Right now, if it hasn't been processed, it's still as if it wasn't received and it could be auto disk. What happens now is if it's been after the change on the 28th, if it's been uploaded, CalSAWS will recognize that as being received, even if it hasn't been processed by the worker, and it will keep it from auto disking. And we will, in that communication, we will put out the actual statuses because it's going to be important that the public pick the right status in order to stay that auto disk.
Thank you.
Aaron, did I get that right? Or Sean?
You did.
Doc type. It's the doc type.
The document type, yes.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Questions of PSC? Okay, any questions of the public? John, I think we're good to go. Next item.
Excellent. So that moves us on to our benefits Cal update. So Lynn, over to you.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Again, just as the background, we had our kickoff meeting in August on the 14th. On the September 1st, we had our first working session that was held. And as of this Monday on the 18th, we had our second meeting. The focus has been concentrating on the policy related items, and the policy ones are ones where there's been questions or concerns or clarifications being sought by our counties and by others. So the meeting this past Monday we really started diving into some of those policy items, and we started getting into the little bit more of the complex or the complicated topics, like trying to address and having an understanding of who's holding and where's the liability on some of these when they cross over between, is it at an individual county level? Is it at a state level? What happens when, you know, they're across the county lines and that type of thing, and then who's monitoring and looking at those. So we did have some good conversation around that. Our state partners, both CDSS and DHCS, have been actively engaged in that. DHCS is taking an active look at some of that related to the PSA, the privacy and security agreements, and looking at that piece, because that is an integral part of as we look at the release of information, and where are some of those boundaries and the clarifications so people have an understanding. So in October, we will have a couple of more focused topics to address. The first meeting in October will be looking at some of the roles and responsibilities and how some of the programs are aligned or not aligned when it comes to some of the roles, like CBO or authorized rep, and where does power of attorney fall within that, and get those more or less charted out to try and help communicate that and make sure that all of us have the same understanding, because also it will be, you know, for the counties, you know, having an understanding, and then of course working with the clients and the beneficiaries on an understanding if they apply for one program or multiple programs, what does that mean for them when it comes to these types of things. So on our next slide, it just outlines that we had this last meeting. Our next meetings are scheduled in October for the 2nd and the 23rd. We've already scheduled out until the 13th of November, and we'll see our progress at that point. So that is what I had for the release of information piece. We do have also a collaboration model that was a bulleted item and just a quick update the meeting, like Onar said. We don't have a slide for collaboration model. It was just a brief verbal update to provide. The meeting is tomorrow, like Onar mentioned before. We've got a full agenda. There are many enhancement requests that we're going to be reviewing and looking at, and we do find ourselves that we're engaging in we're going to have some slightly different conversations, I imagine, as we continue to move forward under the collaboration model. We have a lot of enhancement requests to look at, and we're finding that we'll have a little more discussion about those tomorrow as we work through, for those of you that participate in the collaboration model. And then also, we're going to be initiating some conversations about strategizing and prioritizing, or what's an approach for dealing with some of these items that have been coming up over the last couple of months and bubbling up in a couple of forums, like, you know, items around document upload, items around case linking, account creation. So we're going to have some conversation about what has been implemented, some of the things that have been suggested and enhancements, and then how do we want to address some of those. So that'll be part of our conversation starting tomorrow. So it'll be a very similar flavor, but yet just a little bit different. It just shows the evolution of that collaboration model change. And from there, I'll let Onar cover a lot of the changes that are in some of the customer experience items.
Thank you so much, Lynn. As Lynn mentioned, we have a busy agenda for the collaboration model for tomorrow. And as we shared it in the previous section, since the beginning of this calendar year, we have been delivering a lot of collaboration model prioritized items, including last month and coming up this month too. In addition to those, there is a series of number of items that we have been tracking that came up through the public comments from the usability and user experience standpoint, or hearing from the counties, or hearing from the service desk tickets. And you know, we have been taking these back to our UCD processes and for our analysis from the usability standpoint, and in alignment with items brought up through the comments earlier. So I will provide some highlights on what we have implemented recently in these areas, including primarily, as Lynn mentioned, right, account creation and management, dashboard, and case linking, doc upload, and the overall usability. In terms of the account management, there has been improvements implemented in BenefitsCal in the June release, which guides customers through the phone and email verification while creating an account and resetting passwords, which would ultimately improve the customer experience and reduce the phone calls or the confusion from the customer side and the phone calls from the counties may receive from the customers in that angle too. There is also related to an action item we captured in the previous JPA meeting, to which we will be sharing shortly in the next section. As it relates to dashboards and the renewals, we implemented changes in July and August releases in customer dashboard that allows customers to view the date that the periodic reports or the renewals are received through any channel. This could be mail, this could be through the benefits call too. And also informing the customers about when their periodic reports or renewals will be available to complete. These changes would provide more transparency to the customers and in the renewals journey. And as I mentioned in the previous section, there is a renewals and SAR7 tracker is coming up in the October release. They're going to see a tracker banner on the customer dashboard where they can see the actual status in the life cycle of the SAR7 and the renewals, which is coming up next month. Overall usability standpoint, we delivered enhancements based on what we have been hearing from the customers and the comments, including June release and throughout the summer. To run the system, primarily first one was about improving the customer experience when the systems are in offline mode and when we are in the maintenance mode, allowing customers to see their case details data, IRT data, which would reduce potential confusion and the phone calls the counties may receive as well during the maintenance windows. Last but not least, we delivered major improvements on the benefits call homepage and the announcement sections during summer, which we redesigned the homepage and the announcement sections to create a journey for the users based on their goals and the needs. And also from the announcement standpoint, allowing customers to access urgent and time-sensitive announcements faster and easier benefits call. So these are the key summary of the customer experience enhancements. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So in the last, I think August JPA meeting, we took an action item on a scenario, and we would like to share with our PSC group today as well. When a customer experiences a challenge while, for example, a struggle during benefits call account creation and unable to proceed forward and requires assistance. In this kind of situations, what are the available options the customer has? What are the sources of assistance that the customer has? And a second piece was, okay, what are we doing about to confirming the quality from the quality validation standpoint for these potential scenarios? So we will be handling this splitting into two pieces. First part is the support channel standpoint. What are the customer options? And from the customer options, what type of assistance standpoint, obviously there could be a self-service available. There are multiple self-service support channels currently available for customers online, and there is also assisted support. In terms of the self-service support channels, there is a series of YouTube videos under benefits called YouTube channel available for customers where they can see how to do certain things in the application, including account creation, renewals, doc upload, case linking. All these critical functions are available so they can visually see how to do it. But also these materials are updated, these YouTube videos are updated recently to reflect the latest enhancements too in the YouTube channel. There is like over 20 quick reference guide where the customers can review it and get assistance. And one piece, as I think highlighted in the enhancements piece too, under the help center, customers can look at the how-to videos or the FAQs and benefits call, but they don't have to do one by one manually. They can do a global search after the new improvements with a keyword that they are looking for, type of assistance, so they can locate if there is any materials available under the help center too. From the assisted support standpoint, there is obviously customers can reach out to the county service desks, and also depending on the county that they are located at, they can also use the chat me and the call me features to reach out to a county representative to get their questions answered or get more assistance or clarity for their situation. And there is also a channel, as Coastal's channel, to submit questions for a specific scenario where they need assistance. So that was pretty much from the first part of the support channel standpoint, how we looked into the action item. If you can move on to the next slide, please. So in terms of, as it relates to the foundational testing processes to confirm the quality measures, I will keep it very quick here. I will not go through the details on the slide. It comes up to how intuitive the system is and how user-friendly we can handle the overall, improve the overall customer experience even before we start the validation pieces, the system validation from the technical standpoint. And to confirm that, we conduct series of usability testing even before we confirm a system design. And we work with the end users and the customers and the stakeholders to get their input, how intuitive or user-friendly that design is, which is called the usability testing here, which is passed over to the second segment of the equation here, which is the build phase and the system integration test. All that confirmed design is passed over to that phase, and once it is built based on the design, it is validated against with a unit from unit standpoint, whether it is making sure that it is meeting the expectations of the client. And during this phase, there is a series of quality validation activities happening across different browser types, device types, accessibility, regression testing, making sure that we don't break anything else while we are improving something. So those kind of checks from the quality standpoint are considered during these phases. And the next phase is independent testing and the county validation, where the respective teams validate their pieces. We hand over to independent testing teams and county validation, stakeholder validation teams to make sure the expectations, county policy, business processes are working as expected from end to end. It is not only the technical solution, but also the underlying business processes are also supporting that solution. These are validated during this step 2. And last but not least, we work with our QA vendor very closely from the performance and the security testing standpoint to make sure that the build-up solution is meeting the real-world production loads. So where we conduct load, stress, and endurance tests, and also confirming the compliance against the consortium security and the privacy rules, where we conduct the static and dynamic security testings too. And all of these are based on the user scenario, like driven from the user experience and the user scenario, and funneled through these channels. Emil, anything you would like to add or highlight here from the QA standpoint?
I think you covered it well. One thing that I would add is just looking at the information over the last 3 slides is I want to highlight the continuous feedback process inherent within the CalSAWs. We get customer support channels and usability work group. We receive that feedback to better understand the customer pain points. The project prioritizes those enhancements to address those pain points, incorporating feedback from our stakeholders. And finally, we take a cross-system, cross-vendor approach to validate and confirm release readiness.
Thank you, Emil. This was the update on that. And the next and final topic we would like to share with our steering committee group is the marketing campaign. I will keep it brief. Starting with the quick refresher here, when we met last time during the month of August, we shared an update that the marketing campaign was coming out in September. And the campaign was prioritized based on the feedback we have been hearing from the counties and our stakeholder community, as well as the state. And based on the stakeholder inputs, there were a series of campaign items have been prioritized. There were like 6 items primarily, that you see here, or 7 items listed here, have been prioritized, including a series of digital assets and also a set of email outreach efforts for a targeted customer segments to encourage them to use relatively less utilized features of BenefitScout available online. And if we can move on to the next slide, please. So we are so excited to share that this month, since we are in September right now, all these digital marketing materials have been finalized and distributed with the stakeholders via the channels previously identified. And in addition to the promo cards, the posters, or the animation video, which we'll be sharing shortly, there is also a customizable 3-fold brochure designed and translated into 20 threshold languages for counties and the CBO community. Both counties and the CBOs can customize the brochure with the specifics of their contact information or their service times and distributed in the way that they prefer to. And we would like to thank all the stakeholders, regional managers, advocate partners for providing samples, their inputs in this journey. Next slide, please. Another item, as I mentioned earlier, was selected by the stakeholders throughout this campaign journey was the new animation video for BenefitsCal. The objective of that was to give a pretty good overview of what customers can do using a BenefitsCal online in a friendly and maybe more engaging manner. And next, we will be playing this video, animation video with you today. It's a pretty short video, and Kiran or Jennifer, if you can help me with that. Thank you.
Hi there. Welcome to BenefitsCal, a new website where you can apply for, view, and renew your benefits, like health coverage or food and cash assistance. I'm Robin. Let's look. Anyone visiting the BenefitsCal website on their computer, mobile phone, or tablet can apply for benefits. Plus, if you're a student, we've got a special student center just for you. With BenefitsCal, you can check to see if you qualify for benefits, get information on different programs, and create an account to track the eligibility process. You'll be able to download and print common state forms or find your closest county office. Create an account online to manage benefits, check EBT balances, upload documents, and complete and submit reports. All online at benefitscal.com. BenefitsCal. Together, we benefit.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I forgot, thank you, Lynn, for reminding me. We would like to also thank all the RMs and LA County for providing the samples for the brochure and for the animation video. It's translated into 20 threshold languages and it's available. We uploaded to YouTube channel. It's uploaded to marketing sites, available also in the advocate website too. It's distributed for, and we have been seeing a positive trend in the number of views on the YouTube too. We are so excited to complete or share this material with you today too. If you can move on to the next slide. So the last highlight we would like to share from the marketing campaign standpoint is the email outreach efforts. There were like 6 email campaigns have been selected by the stakeholders for its specific targeted customer segments. And we started distributing these emails starting the 5th of the September throughout the 12th of the September. You see the metrics until the 11th when we published these materials. And wanting to keep in the slide in mind is once these emails are sent out to the targeted customers, it does encourage them to perform a certain action, which we call them call to action. And we track their actions in 2 different ways. Number one is whether they open the email or not once it is sent out. And second piece is whether they really click the link in that email to perform the action or not. And industry standards for the state governments for the email open rate is around 19%. And what we see here is way above that, like first couple campaigns are over like 60, 70%, and all of them are actually over 50% for the first 5 campaigns listed here. And for the links click call to action, the industry standard is 2.8% in general. And all of the campaigns we see here are above 5% so far. We see this is basically the initial metrics. We will be continue monitoring these. What is the overall number of actions that have been taken throughout the application, and we will be sharing those with the PSC and the JPA groups as well going forward. But we are so excited to see that the volume of action taken by the customers are pretty high. And Lynn, anything that you would like to highlight here that I did not cover?
No, thank you. We know that this is a lot of in-depth detail and numbers and stats on there, but we did want to just highlight that these campaigns, that in the midst of all of the messaging that is continuing to go out, that are our folks are still engaged in that and opening their emails and looking at this. This really highlights that there's still a lot of interest in Benefits Cal. And I think the only one, and I don't remember if you mentioned it, is that when we were sending these out, we didn't bombard, if you will, all of our clients all at once. If they received an email from one of these campaigns, they didn't get other ones. So we tried to limit some of that with some of our controls.
Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, we did not send duplicate emails to the customers. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So we are so excited to share these updates with you also. Finally, again, we would like to thank all the stakeholders that were involved in this journey, the RMs, counties, states, CWDA, advocate partners, all their inputs and collaboration and great teamwork during this summer months for that. Really appreciate it. Thank you. I think this was the last section, is the last slide on the benefits call section, Albert. I will be handing it over to you for any questions.
Albert, I think we're back to you.
Thank you. Any questions from PSC? Any questions from the public? Okay, John. Next item.
All right, Peggy, I think you're up.
Good afternoon. No, is it morning? It's still morning. Good morning, PSC. So we are almost to the finish line. So my team has already started looking towards M&O and with 58 counties working in CalSAWS. So with that being said, I'm excited today to tell you about our LEAP into CalSAWS initiative. So LEAP stands for Listen, Examine, Act, and Partner. We're going to be, we want to listen and learn from our CalSAWS counties through regional listening tours. We're going to be taking the feedback that we hear and assessing it and determining next steps. We're going to act with the county and the project staff to implement, implement and execute action plans based on, the priority needs. And we'll be partnering with the counties. We're partnering to connect the counties with other counties for engagement, and also with our project experts. Next slide, please. So like I said, LEAP, our goal with LEAP is to really hear from our counties how the system is working for them. How are they able to utilize the functionality as is, and where there are some barriers or some challenges. So we're going to be listening. We'll be doing some listening tours to connect with the counties, to hear how it's working for them, and to identify those gaps and maximize the usability of the system. Next slide, please. So our counties have anywhere from 2 months to 2 years of experience in using the system. So along the way, they've taken an individual paths, and they've had some unique usability experiences. So we want the counties to maximize the functionality to its fullest potential. And, we want to leap towards creating an action plan where we want to be that's responsive to the feedback that we receive from the counties. Next slide. So again, our listening tours are going to be done regionally. So we're going to conduct regional listening tours with the CalSAWS counties. We want to better understand where there's knowledge and usability gaps. We'll be examining the feedback that we get and creating action plans. Next slide. So the act part of LEAP is really to look at where the counties have those gaps and what we can do as part of our action plan to provide them additional information so that they can understand and fully utilize the functionality as is. Those things may include some supplemental education and or training materials, county to county engagement that always works well when counties listen to other counties. And then, having some functional experts available to assist the counties with understanding and fully utilizing the CalSAWS system. Next slide. And again, partnering, we're going to communicate and collaborate with the counties through our LEAP activity. We're going to be providing status updates along the way. We'll be utilizing our regional managers and the forums they have with their counties to provide updates as to where we are with the work that our team is able to do. We're working on identifying, some formal communications that'll come out via CITs, and also, in these public meetings, we'll be providing updates. Next slide. Next slide, please. Let's see. So our partnering, I'm sorry. So who you can expect to be part of our team. So our team is really cross-functional. We wanted to keep some familiar faces that the counties are already used to seeing and hearing from as part of our LEAP team. So we're going to include some folks from trainings. As an example, Ashley Arnold from our change management team will be using Helen Cruz and Araceli Gallardo. And then from our implementation support, we'll be using folks like Yang Vang Blia Yang to help with this initiative. Our regional managers will also be involved as we get ready to go out into the regions. Each of the regional managers from the different regions will be involved in helping us identify our participants for those listening tours. We also have members of our QA team, Gretchen Williams and Abby Dara, who are also helping out with this effort. And then, of course, we're going to be reaching out to our functional experts on the project to help as we build our action plan and determine what is needed to, help close those gaps. Next slide, please. Our LEAP team is going to be requesting county volunteers via the CRFI process. We want to highly encourage you to have your counties participate. This is going to be for all 58, not just the 18 new ones. We want to hear from all 58 and hear the different experiences so that we can help develop our action plan moving forward that works for all 58. Next slide. So here's what you can expect next. So the first CRFI is going to be released sometime in the next month or two. And we are going to start with Region 3. Our Region 3 counties have been on, the system the longest. So we want to hear from them. They're kind of going to be our little guinea pig to see how, what we get back and help us, improve going forward. Again, our listening tour with Region 3 will be held first. We'll be compiling all the results that we hear from Region 3. And then once we're, done with Region 3, we're going to move on to Region 6. Our next regions that will be calendaring for their listening tours as they each become whole on the CalSAWS system. So as all the counties are live on the system and have a little bit of experience, whether it's a couple of months or a couple of years, we'll be, engaging with them to hear, their experience to help us, put together a plan that's going to help close those gaps. Our goal really is to help our counties fully utilize and understand how to utilize the system as is. It's not to, another avenue to gather change enhancements or other priorities. It's to, let's look at how it works for you and let's make sure you all understand and the functionality as is. And then we'll put together a plan to help close gaps where we identify there are some areas where counties can use a little more support. So we're excited to get started. More information is coming. We will be doing a brief presentation on LEAP in our CWDA at the CWDA conference. We'll have part of our presentation there will include LEAP. So any of your folks that are attending will be able to hear more information about LEAP there. So that wraps up my presentation, and I'll turn it back to you, Albert, for any questions.
Thank you, Peggy. I personally don't have a question. I do have a comment though. As you stated, there's some of us have been on the system for 2 years, and then there's some of us that have only been in the system for 2-3 weeks. And I think that in order for this to be successful, we will need that whoever's coordinating or whoever is sharing these communications, for lack of better words, they really need to have a strong to keep us on track, because us that have been in the system for your time are going to try to do exactly what you're saying. Why can't we get X? Why don't we have X, right? So I think it's a great idea, but your facilitators really need to be able to control those discussions, because it might create a level of frustration for the counties that are trying to get their needs or their wants presented, and they're going to use whatever avenue that they can to kind of have those conversations. So I just want to put that on your radar.
Yep.
Any questions of PSC?
Hi, this is Sandra. I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Okay.
From Riverside. I wanted to ask, so I know that you'll be listening to each region individually. Is there a chance, will the other regions be able to listen in to some of the information that's being shared? Because there may be some really great information being shared from other regions that we may be able to take advantage of. How are the listening tours going to work for those that are interested in hearing what others are doing?
Thank you for that question, that feedback. That is really good. The team is right now working on, what our process is going to look like as we get into the listening tours. So I don't have anything definitive to tell you. I will say that, this is perfect timing to hear this, and many of my members of the team that are, in the planning stages of LEAP are on this call. So they're also hearing this, and we'll be taking that into consideration as we, move forward with our planning. And, back to Alberto's point, we definitely, as a team, have been talking about, keeping our counties focused in the goal of what our LEAP initiative is. And we are engaging our QA partner, Gretchen Williams, who is, very skilled at conducting, the retrospectives, and she is going to be helping us with our listening tours. And our team is currently looking at, the types of questions that we're going to ask that are going to keep us focused. So thank you for the feedback, and we will keep that in mind as we continue planning. And at a minimum, we will be providing updates to the different regions on what we're hearing, because the plans that we put together may cross regions, cross counties, and we want to make sure we share that information and have full transparency with, what our action plans are going to be.
Thank you.
Cindy?
Hi, Peggy. This is Cindy, and thanks for that. It's exciting to see how we're going to be moving forward. And so just kind of similar to the previous question and suggestions, I'm thinking from our perspective, and probably from some of the newer counties as well, we had to make a lot of decisions as far as opting in to functionality, opting out to functionality, and I know, you know, for our county specifically, sometimes you're making those decisions and you're not really sure how it's going to impact your county processes. And so I think as you guys are looking at this, I think that would be a great retrospective to see what are the things in the system that we could be taking advantage of that we're not, because either we didn't know enough, we didn't have enough information, we were scared, you know, because what's that going to do? And so from my perspective, that would be really helpful to look at. Where did the counties opt in? Where are they not? Where did they opt out? And what are they not taking advantage of? And so just as a suggestion, as you're looking forward to that, from my perspective, I think that'd be really helpful. I have that tracked. So every time we get a new CRFI asking about opting in and we discuss it. And so I know there's advantages that we could be taking, or system functionality we could be taking advantage of that we're not. So I would love to hear about all of those in totality. So thank you.
Great point, Cindy. We definitely, our team are in our initial discussions. That is also an area that we've talked about is, you know, looking at those opt-in, opt-outs and which counties have and haven't, and can consider providing additional information and checking in as to, you know, you didn't do it before, but now maybe you've got a little more, you know, experience and, you know, we can help you figure it out. So thank you for that.
That's great. Thanks.
Elaine? Can't hear you.
And the work that will be accomplished through this effort. I understand that this is, you know, your first presentation, and you've laid out the next steps in terms of the sequence of the other counties that would be involved. So Ventura County is fairly recent in its implementation. When do you think our wave would be participating in this? I think you said it would be over a few years. Did I catch that correctly?
We are working on the remaining regions and the listening tour schedule. We're working on that. Our team is working on that now. It really is, we're looking to add the regions in the sequence of their regions becoming whole, meaning all their counties are on CalSAWS and have a little bit of experience working in the system before we engage that region in our listening tour, because we want everyone to be able to participate and tell us what their experience has been and understand where there may be gaps.
Peggy, you're not going to be waiting. I think Elaine said years. It's going to be more months. This is going to be happening, kicking off, and it's going to be happening in the 2024 calendar year. As we go forward. It is not going to be years. It's going to be months.
Yes,
okay.
It's going to be months.
Thank you so much, John. I wanted to make sure that I didn't misunderstand that. So I understand that this is being scheduled, and thank you for laying out the initial steps. And so we'll look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. I'm excited to work with you all.
Thank you. Any other questions of PSC?
Hey, Albert, just want to acknowledge, I think Lenora had a suggestion in the chat that the team take a look at the tickets and maybe some areas and data from the ticketing process to see if there's some hotspot areas. So I think that's a good suggestion, Peggy, that the team could hop on that as well.
Okay, noted.
Any questions of the public? John, I think we can go on to the next item.
I'll go ahead and cover this. So overall, now that we're coming to the end of the migration program with 6B, we are now approaching a point to where we can afford to decommission some of our environments that have been used to help the counties prepare. There's two in particular that are going to be decommissioned. One is called UAT2, and the other one is called Sandbox. We're planning on turning these off at the end of October after the last conversion or 6B is complete. And then what's really important to understand for the counties is that we do have environments for you to be in, whether it's the training environment or the PRT environment. Those are the long-term ongoing environments for you to do the additional validation and training and et cetera. So this is just a very quick reminder, public service announcement that we are targeting to turn off those two environments at the end of October. So Alberto, back to you for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of PSC? Any questions of the public? Thank you. Next item, John? Or Danielle?
Yeah, we're gonna go to Arnold for the first slide.
All right, so reason why we went ahead and inserted this here is this past Monday, we did encounter a system-wide impacting event that was related to a larger issue that Amazon Web Services had within their western and eastern regions. What the impact that the CalSAWS ecosystem had, and that includes the core CalSAWS application, the contact center application, imaging application, was that workers had a difficult time logging in, as well as slower response times as they were navigating if they had logged into the application. That impact started at roughly 10:49 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, when the tech teams actually noted and saw the degradation in response times. We immediately engaged AWS, and at that point is when we were informed there was a larger issue going on. By 12:15 p.m., with the steps that AWS had taken to restore services, the user login experience and performance for the CalSAWS online application and contact center returned to normal levels. What we did see at roughly 3:38 was that for a subset of counties on contact center, as AWS was continuing to go through their remediation recovery across the issue, we did see a reoccurrence for 3 counties on the contact center with being able to log in. So if the workers were already logged in, they were still able to process calls, still able to connect to CalSAWS, but if they happened to time out, they had difficulty logging in again. It was about 8:05 in the evening when AWS had completed their resolution, and we saw that the contact center functionality had returned to normal. So overall impact on this, and any impact is too much knowing where we are right now. But we were taking a look at the call center stats. We saw for the new Wave 5 counties about a 10% decrease in call volumes processed during the day. So we saw that impact. And then for the remaining counties, it was about a 2% reduction as compared against the previous week. So still impact felt overall. And we understand that. We're working closely with our AWS partners to understand, is there anything else CalSAWS can do to help protect against this type of disruption? And then we're also looking forward to receiving the RCA. We do have a member of Amazon Web Services on the phone with us. I think Chris O'Mara is here. Chris, I'll hand over to you if you want to provide any additional information around the RCA and initial steps and findings.
We don't have any additional information to share at this point. The RCA is still pending. Arnold, I think you covered all the salient details and facts there, so I'll take any questions if anyone has any.
Probably hold off on questions until we sort of wrap up the rest of the agenda item. Thanks for being here, Chris. We do look forward to the root cause analysis and sharing that with our counties, because I know that they're highly concerned because this was very impactful to their business, and I know this impacted a lot of your other customers. So as we're if you guys could expedite that, we definitely want to look at those things and see if there's anything that we could do on our side to remediate the impact that this issue had.
Of course.
Thanks. Thank you, Chris. I think the other thing is you know, our communications, as we started noticing that those items also impacted our public on Benefits Cal, and we let folks know that we let our advocate co-leads know that we had some issues that we were experiencing and how we're processing those applications and how they might have to be working through that. So again, it's impacting our 50,000 workers as well as our public on Benefits Cal when it's impacting that login. So let's go to our next slide.
So as we move into this next slide, I'm going to cover the bottom section first, and then I'll kind of go into the top section next. I want to cover some of the updates and some of the things we've been doing over the last month since we last discussed this topic. So we know that we had heard from the public in a few counties about some concerns around the Welcome Bot. We have been working with those counties and working to make changes to the way the system is operating and optimize that experience. So that being said, a couple of things that we noticed were, like, for example, the apply for benefits option. When somebody had said they're calling about applying for benefits, in some of the counties, we were routing that to like the general queue, for example, rather than the correct queue, which would have been the like quote unquote intake queue or your application queue. So we've made some of those adjustments in the counties that we've looked at and we've talked to. We're continuing to talk to the counties on this particular topic and continuing to make changes to try to improve the overall customer experience. So we are continuing to take that feedback, and if any counties have any feedback or would like to discuss this with us, please reach out to your RMs, and we can schedule some time to walk through that with you all and answer any questions that you may have when it comes to this overall solution. So we are taking that feedback seriously, and we want to make sure that we are making improvements to this solution as we move forward. We are also looking at our data that we have and our reporting on this, and looking through all of that data to see what other areas where we might be able to improve the overall usage of the system and improve that customer experience. So I kind of want to hit that first and go into that portion, and then I can talk about the top section now, which is the success rate. So the Welcome Bot success rate is at a 62% averaged across all counties. And what that means is when if a customer says something to the IVR, we're recognizing 62% of those utterances, and we're routing them to either the correct area in the IVR, whether it be self-service, or we're routing them to the right queues. And we have made some of those updates, like I talked about on the queues and where those are routing. So we believe we made those adjustments to start routing things to the right queues, and we're continuing to look at this and see what we can do to improve this. Push notifications on the other side of this box is the number of people that we sent a push notification to, which is basically after you have logged in and you have authenticated, we give you some information about your case, whether it be your benefit info, status of your documents, and then the customer immediately hangs up after getting that information. And we're still seeing a pretty good rate there of 27%, which means that 20% of those callers are not needing to talk to an agent or a worker, and they're getting what they need from the system. So I think that's a positive result coming from what we're seeing on the push notifications. And if we move into the next slide, we'll cover the opposite side of the bot, which is the authentication bot. So we kind of wanted to break this into two sections because I know I wanted to address some of the issues on the prior one that we had heard about and talk about Welcome Bot separately from authentication button. So that being said, we're seeing still really good results from an authentication perspective. We're seeing the authentication rates at over 54% across all counties. We've seen an increase of 33% across all counties, so it's continuing to grow as we see these go live. So that is a continuing trend we're monitoring. As a county goes live, the stats may start a little bit lower, but as they've continued to be on the system longer, that has been increasing in percentage. So we're seeing overall good rates of people authenticating. Getting more people authenticated means you're saving time on all of those calls. So I do think that this is a really good stat, and we're seeing some positives here. The other thing to call out that we're going to be doing here coming up on the counties that are live on your upcoming contact center support calls, we're going to be working with you to talk about things that you may want to consider, what from either a marketing or a campaigning perspective, or how can we work with you to help increase those rates in your county. So more to come on that, and we'll be putting that onto our agendas in upcoming future contact center support meetings that we have with each individual county on contact center, so we can continue to see how we can improve our authentication rates across the board, and some maybe tips and tricks we've gathered from other counties like San Bernardino, who's been on this for a long period of time. So we're going to continue to communicate on that and continue to have discussions on this. So that is the update for the contact center, and I'll turn it back over to Albert.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from PSC members?
Clarissa has a question here in the room.
Sorry, on the production issue that happened on Monday, just a comment that maybe whether it's here or in our region meetings, as we move forward and the 58 counties are all on, it might be worth just kind of sharing ideas on continuity of operations, only because when we went live with CalSauce, we went live with all other areas, right? Whether that be lobby management, imaging, or contact center, they're all now tightly integrated with CalSauce, our case management system, which is beautiful. The problem is when something is wrong or one of those is wrong, we are kind of left crippled, right? So just wanted to maybe check in with other counties on what are they doing when something like that happens. Now, the contact center issue on Monday was intermittent. It was crippling a little bit, but some people were able to get in. But what if it was all down for that long period of time, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., right? So what are we doing, and how are we as counties dealing with that, especially because when that's down, all counties were using AWS for their contact center activities are essentially down, right? How do we recover from that? And what are we doing to continue our operations without the phones, right? Just maybe conversation for the future, and maybe it is a region meeting conversation.
Yep, we'll take that as an item to send back through our regional managers, through our customer engagement team.
Thank you, John.
And maybe it's one of the things that can be at least on the LEAP to-do checklist, or else it could be delegated to the RMs to sort of track through. It's sort of one of those informational sharing items as we move forward. So we'll take that as an action item.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Clarissa. Any other questions from PSC? Any comments or questions from the public? Thank you. John, next item, please.
Rick, you're up.
Yes, let's go over the status of the M&O procurement. We're working through the responses to our first of two BAFOs, probably. This one did not focus as much on price as it did on getting apples to apples comparison so that we could select the appropriate vendor. And the teams are working through that. It did have some revised pricing in terms of the hardware and software inventories, and that was to get consistency as well. Next is our work on the benefits account re-procurement. Next slide. where we're coming to the end of our contract with Deloitte for Benefits Cal and working through the requirements with the various partners and stakeholders to make sure that we capture all of the requirements for the contract that will replace our current contract for Benefits Cal maintenance and enhancements. That is the update on procurement.
Hey, Tom, just for a second, going back to the last one, just again, remind PSC what BAFO is, best and final offer, and then maybe point out a couple of key upcoming dates that the PSC should be keeping in mind on both of these procurements.
Yeah, our big date is the notice of intent to award, where all the work is done, and in February 8th, we announce the intent to award and jump into contract negotiations. And the next big date is the contract start date of August 1st, where we go through and start the actual transition from our existing contractors to our new contractors or contractor, depending on how the procurement rolls out, since we have the two pieces, infrastructure and maintenance and enhancement. And we could end up with one vendor for both or two vendors, one for each of those pieces.
And then on the next one, Tom, is there any other key dates that you'd point out on the Benefits Cal procurement?
I'd say the big one are the approvals. We're expecting August 22nd, 2025 for it to come before the board. And then the contract start date of September 2. And then we have a shorter transition in period where the two vendors work together to transition one set of tasks to the other vendor's people and have it fully transitioned by February 27th of 2026.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Any questions of PSC? Any questions of the public? Okay, John, I think we can move on.
Okay, it's Dan Dean again with the QA team, providing a summary of the past month's activities. Release 2309, release testing completed and reached green light yesterday on the 24th. In this release, QA reviewed 5 SCRs, independently tested 9, and all of the 297 scenarios have now passed. On Benefits Cal, there are 2 releases planned for September. We have a release on the 24th that aligns with release 2309 on the CalSAW side. And on the 28th, we have another M&O release. Both releases are on track to close out this week. And our team is also involved and integrated into the CFAP, FSED, with ROI work groups. These are all in various stages of planning and design. The technical third of this slide, we have reviewed 29 different service level agreements, which is a monthly process. For Jane OCAT and Benefits Cal, we provided comments and recommendations as appropriate. We also reviewed the annual updates for M&O as well as the SSP, the system security plan updates for each contract partner, and provided recommendations. This past month, we reviewed and confirmed 7 of the RCA documents, and we will be reviewing the one that Arnold highlighted concerning outage. We've reviewed and analyzed 46 technical updates related to CalSAW's core architecture, security batch, Benefits Cal, imaging, contact center, and virtual assistants. And the migration third of this slide, we spoke earlier today about the Wave 5B cutover lessons learned, and what we're going to do differently in 6B. We'll be diligent providing the enhanced QA to verify that the steps are followed. You heard from Gretchen on the retrospectives for Wave 4. And as a reminder, we conduct 10 of those with each of our project teams for each wave. We'll be conducting them again as we conclude waves 5 and 6. These sessions have had a positive effect in helping our teams improve over the waves. Our QA team continues to be in the counties both before and after go live and as part of the team supporting counties on site virtually for Wave 5. The Wave 5 counties are doing well. We're seeing a lot of success, including staff being more comfortable with the system, lobbies flowing more normally, and staff becoming more self-sufficient, self-serving. So finally, our team has provided some mini trainings as needed to help keep people moving. We're keeping an eye on the county distribution of communications. And we're also keeping an eye on the end of month reporting, and will help in bringing together the right teams to support the county's requirements. We perform both the hybrid close and final closeout ways. As we do each wave, QA validates the 934 original requirements. Over 90% of these are closed out. The subset that are still open are associated with final acceptance. Things are progressing well concerning the requirements. And finally, we completed county data validation along with the counties for wave 6, August 14th through 25th. Wave 6 CDB and fraud ancillary systems was completed on the 29th. For 51 county participants in wave 6 CDB. And we'll be conducting our retro for that activity on September 28th. That's all for QA.
Thank you. Any questions of PSC? Any questions of the public? Thank you. Next item.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Apurva Kandya. I will be providing you with the key IVNB updates from the project oversight. We have been continuing to perform on the following work streams. Overall, the CalSOS and benefits Cal releases have been smooth. The readiness for 2309 release is looking good at this point. And we have observed great collaboration and progress among various UCD efforts. With a lot of enhancements being worked upon and also the ROI policy discussions. All the systems and batch processes have been performing well with the increased data volumes. Next up is conversion. The highlight of the last month was the 5P conversion event. Due to the issue discussed earlier in the part of the meeting, the system was up 1 day later than planned. And to ensure that this issue doesn't repeat, the conversion team is taking a lot of preventive actions, and the IVNB team is performing a lot of additional validations. Our team independently performed an expanded analysis on the 32 Wave 6 migration defects that are assigned to various releases before 6P conversion start. And we have found that 29 of these 32 have been planned to be deployed in September, and the remaining are planned to be deployed before the 6P conversion. And all are looking on track as of now. The app dev and conversion team is planning for earlier deployment and validation of system change requests and defect fixes related to conversion. The specific change request for the caseworker assignment is planned to be deployed tomorrow, and along with various other fixes. We are collaborating with the QA team to get the confirmation on the validation. Additionally, we are looking forward to participating in the pre-flight validation checklist meeting, where the conversion team will be discussing an analysis on the ODI plan, the latest code base, and other checks and balances. Lastly, I would just like to call out, as this issue was identified, all teams were prepared to handle the situation. We saw that the fix was deployed quickly, validated quickly, and the plan to execute the data transformation step again was executed very smoothly. So overall, the 5P conversion was a successful event, and there are being additional steps being taken to ensure that this issue doesn't repeat again, along with various additional mitigations so that we have fewer and fewer issues and a smoother conversion. Lastly, I would just like to provide an update on implementation. Wave after wave, the readiness and the post-implementation phase is just getting better and better. The Wave 5 post-implementation has been smooth in the last 2.5 weeks with no major concerns. Now our focus is shifting to the Wave 6 which is the last and final wave. And so far, things are looking great. The validation efforts are coming to nearing completion, and the tracking of implementation checklist items are also going well with the TOS meetings. We are also observing the state and fiscal support sessions being helpful, and the county sharing their experiences and lessons learned via the TAC meeting and various other forums are also very beneficial. That's my update on IVNV. Back to you.
Thank you.
If there are any questions for me.
Any questions from PSC? Any questions of the public?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
All right, Albert, it brings us to our state partner updates, and I think we'll start off with OTSI to see if there's any updates.
Good morning, this is Steve Zaretsky. Just a couple items. We received approval on the CalWIN operational APD update on August 30th. And then earlier this month, we received the CalSAWS ClearBest change order number 8. And there was a state walkthrough just yesterday or 2 days ago, excuse me. And so the state will begin its review along with legal, and we will let the project know if we have any questions or concerns. I did want to say that on Wave 5B, we would like to congratulate the project team on overcoming the challenges for the cutover weekend and ultimately having a successful cutover. Also would like to point out the success of 5C and 6A. Well done. And we continue to monitor the post-go live calls for Wave 5 and the preparations for Wave 6. And along with IBNB, we will be monitoring. Looking forward to Wave 6. Thank you.
Thank you. CDSF?
Good morning, this is Cecilia Rowland. I don't really have any updates, but CDSS would like to thank the project for coming together and helping us plan for the possible federal government shutdown. Even though we will not be issuing those benefits for October early, we are grateful that we were able to talk through whatever would be needed. To ensure that everyone is on the same page, a formal letter will be posted this or next week, and that's just to assert everyone that we will not be issuing benefits early for October. Thank you.
Thank you. DHCS?
I think DHCS might have done their update with the unwinding with Yinja. So I don't know if they have anything else to add.
Hi, this is Katie from DHCS. So sorry about that. No other additional updates. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions of PSC? Questions of the public? Our next item, our regional updates. And I'm gonna do something that I never do. I'm just gonna go in order. So region 1.
Hey, Albert, I'll go ahead and jump in. I'll cover a couple of counties, including San Francisco, and then I'll pass it off to Clarissa. So for Santa Cruz, they've made through their first COLA, and they're learning from it. They're now preparing for their CalWorks and CalFresh COLA that's coming the end of this September. T plus 6 weeks, they're getting their footing using CalSAWS security roles. They're pretty much settling in after their migration into this new system. Then for Monterey, Benefits Cal, TSD goes live for them September 25th, 2023. They are excited for the last wave coming, so thank you for that. Then lastly, for San Francisco, in addition to the various operational work streams we're working on, we're also working and preparing, of course, for our CalSAWS migration. As mentioned earlier, we are part of the Wave 6, and we have successfully completed the 6A cut over last weekend. So we're, very happy about that. Staff are doing ILT training, and we are busy working on our command center structure and escalation plan for the various programs and offices. And that's it. I'll pass it on to Clarissa.
Thank you, Anna. For Solano County, Solano's T+6 Change Readiness Survey results meeting has been completed, and the results of that have been shared with staff. Weekly collaboration meetings are ongoing with their staff development training team to identify and deliver additional CalSauce training. 3 CalSauce kiosks were delivered successfully. They're looking into purchasing tablets for their lobby management system, and they are preparing to test the E2 Lite interface functionality at the end of this month. For San Mateo County, we want to extend our thank you to our regional managers, especially to Greg, for coordinating and continuing to provide support for our post-go live transition. Our CalSauce support team continue to meet with our operations and our fiscal management teams on their ongoing concerns and issues with CalSauce. Recently, there has been a major focus on reporting, including state, fiscal, and ad hoc reports. I think that meeting happens once a week now for us. CalSauce support team continued to receive an increase in number of CAPI-related tickets that have been major focus and working with CalSauce to identify workarounds until defect resolution. We're also working closely with CalSauce separate services support contract with both Accenture and Deloitte. Our program policy analysts have been working diligently in updating our handbooks, and then of course including CalSauce screenshots into those handbooks. That's it for Region 1.
Thank you. Region 2.
Good morning. Just one major update to report for Region 2, and that's Sacramento County is in their second week of CalSauce training and has received great feedback from staff so far. They are also in their first week of county prep for migration and have completed the interface testing and begin model office next week. And that is all I have for Region 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Region 3.
This is Rachel for Region 3. So reporting out for Butte County, they had 18 new eligibility staff who started last month. They also went live with ECCP last month. They are going live with Benefits Cal Technical Service Desk soon, and they were able to reopen their Oroville lobby. Glenn County PPOC, Tina Flornay is acting as interim program manager. So they have a new backup PPOC, Bob Johnson. And they have also been working on moving away from using the Merit system services due to difficulties in getting applications. Humboldt County had a class of 6 eligibility staff who recently graduated, and they are planning on a small class to start in October. They are also piloting their they have a pilot for guaranteed income at the end of this year, and they have also requested to separate from Merit. Lake County reporting that they are working very diligently on their Medi-Cal renewals. Their outreach unit has been very busy with a lot of outreach events. Also reporting they have a 19.6% vacancy rate for line staff and a 16.6% vacancy rate for lead workers. They also wanted to put in a plug that they have remote work available. Lassen County is reporting they actually only have 3 eligibility staff at this time and no clerical support. They also are recruiting for many open positions currently through Merit. For Mendocino County, we have a new PPOC, Ken Smith. We just started a new induction training class this week. And at this time, all of our labor organizations are in negotiations. So anxiously awaiting the progress with that. Shasta County is reporting they actually are doing very well on recruiting for staff. They are trying to get an increase to salary with the reclassification of their eligibility specialist position. They are promoting remote work since they're very short on physical space, and also looking at a refresh of their laptops to accommodate work from home and desk sharing. Siskiyou County staff has also been working very hard on Medi-Cal renewals. They're working currently on contracts with CBOs to assist clients with completing their Medi-Cal renewal packets. And they also recently had to open shelters for fire emergencies. Tehama County also reporting they are moving away from merit. They went live September 1st for their Benefits Cal Technical Service Desk, and they are working on business process reengineering to be a little bit more efficient in their eligibility processes. Trinity County also submitted their formal letter to separate from merit. And they actually received, their staff received salary increases through the Board of Supervisors. They're currently down 50% in the eligibility worker classification and 75% down in their administration. And that is it for Region 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Region 4.
Good morning, Cecilia Leon for Region 4. I have a couple of updates for the counties. Kern County is reporting they are in the process of preparing for the fiscal year 2024 ME visits scheduled for the first week of November 2023. They are continuing to monitor Medi-Cal reports and ensure cases are being processed for the continuous coverage unwinding effort. They participated with DHCS on a virtual meeting to discuss the PHE unwinding efforts. They are continuing to work closely with their MCPs to assist with outreach and obtaining updated information from clients for timely processing of Medi-Cal renewals. They continue to focus efforts on hiring for new eligibility staff. They have 3 training sessions ongoing. They have updated internal business processes for EBT theft requests and card issuance, which has improved their in-person services for clients. Merced County, we are also in the process of requesting to move away from merit for hiring and are also preparing for our ME visit scheduled for, I believe, the second week of November 2023. San Luis Obispo County is reporting that they started their county prep phase with county data validation already in August 14th through the 25th. And the process simulation occurred August 28th through September 8th. As of August 18th, they are 84% complete with WBTs and are very proud of their staff's efforts to complete their assigned WBTs before ILT starts on September 6th, 2023. They wished Fresno good luck with their Wave 5 migration. Stanislaus County is experiencing a 27% vacancy rate in their division and are actively working to fill these vacancies. 29 new eligibility staff were hired and started induction training on August 28th, 2023. They are currently working in collaboration with CDSS, CalFresh Technical Assistance Team, on a county operational redesign effort project. They are identifying areas and processes for refinement and establishing sustainable processes for their intake section in order to meet application processing timeliness requirements and enhance the overall customer experience. That is all the updates I have for Region 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Region 5.
Hi, this is Sandra Boland for Region 5. For Orange County, this week, Orange County went live with the CalSauce Lobby Management System. Riverside in August, Todd Belanca was promoted to Managing Director over DPSS. Todd will be responsible for the administration functions of our department, including oversight of day-to-day operations and ensuring a focus on our mission, strategy, and continuous quality improvement of programming. For San Diego is currently going through their CalFresh management evaluation, so good luck. Ventura, in July 2023, the local area agency on aging became part of the Human Services Agency. This will create synergy and service integration between the departments that provide needed services for the adult, disabled, and aging population in the Ventura County. We continue to have induction classes for new employees and cross-training for existing staff. We are also holding a day-long hiring event this weekend and expect to interview over 100 candidates for the eligibility worker position. We will then provide induction training to those onboarded from this event. Thanks again, San Diego, for the helpful information on their hiring practices. Now that we have had the CalSauce kiosk deployed, the teams have collaborated to adjust the flow and business processes to help improve the client experience in our lobbies. And that's all for Region 5.
Region 6.
Hi, good morning. We just have two updates from the DPSS side. We continue to recruit for our eligibility positions, eligibility worker 1 and 2. And then we're in the process of completing our ME this week for several of our operations. And that's it on the DPSS side, unless Luther has anything to report on the program side.
Nope, nothing to add, Juana. Thanks.
Okay, and then DCFS?
Hi, this is Olga Vicuña reporting for DCFS LA County. Just brief updates. We're going to start our second EW Academy that takes 7 days. It's going to be in a Norwalk Downey area. The first 3 days, we're going to be focusing on general DCFS material, and then the last 4 days will cover material pertaining to eligibility work. So we're excited to do our second round. We have identified 30 of our newer EWs to attend this training. And then the second brief update is our staff were part of the on-ground support for Alameda and Sonoma counties for the last wave. They both stated that it was a really enriching experience, and presently we do have 3 of our team members actively engaged in offering the virtual assistance to counties in Wave 5. We are eager to anticipate any future opportunities to continue to collaborate and team with the next counties that go up. So I think that's all I have on my end. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from PSC members? Any questions of the public? Hearing none, I think we can go into our last item. Thank you all for joining us here this morning. Congratulations to the most recent individual counties that have joined us in this journey, and we're looking forward to hear about the future success of our partners and sister counties with Wave 6. So if there's no other questions, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Albert. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Good job, Albert.
Nice job, Albert. See ya.